day of 2025, but there will be more in the way of sunshine out there if you are heading out on a New Year's Eve walk. But it's a frosty start. The frost may not clear across some northern areas. You can see that with the blue colours here on the map, and any mist and fog that's formed in the south and east could take a little while to clear as well. But once it does, there will be plenty of sunshine, in particular across England and Wales. Cloudier skies, though, starting to move into parts of Scotland in particular, with some strengthening winds as well. This will bring slightly milder conditions, but with a brisk wind, near gale force winds. It's going to be a pretty unpleasant start to the Hogmanay celebrations, unfortunately, for much of Scotland. Some heavy downpours moving through as well. Should stay dry as we look further south towards Northern Ireland, as well as much of northern England and then into Wales and England. But there will be a lot of cloud around, a frost developing quite quickly across many southern areas, in particular once again into this evening. So you will want some layers if you are heading out for New Year's Eve celebrations. Now, as we head through the night on New Year's Eve, the winds will push down from the north, so that means snow showers will start to pile in across parts of northern Scotland in particular, to low levels initially, but we are expecting some snow, some high to lower levels later on to higher levels initially. And it's going to be a cold start to the day on New Year's Day. A warning is in force for snow and ice across northern areas of Scotland all the way until Friday. Further south, though, should remain relatively dry. There's a risk of the odd shower across parts of Wales and Northern Ireland. But for most of us, it should be a dry day to start 2026, but another chilly one, so you're definitely going to be wanting your hat and gloves. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, Britain. Merry Christmas, Britain. Happy New Year, Britain.
Not quite.
Yes, it's 12 o'clock on Wednesday, the 31st of December. I'm clearly getting overexcited. My name's Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua. So on the show today,
We may well be the last chance this country has to actually restore some proper values. Those of family, community, country, the ones upon which I based this party when I founded it in the very beginning.
Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has released his New Year's message. He says his party is the only one offering hope and change ahead of the 2026 local elections. Labour Dem leader Sir Ed Davey delivers his New Year's message too.
Protecting our environment, fixing the NHS and social care, these are our battles. As well as standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, taking the fight to Nigel Farage and winning. And we can win again in 2026.
Meanwhile, is the ISIS bride Shamima Begum coming back to Britain?
I am asking the British people to forgive me because I made a mistake at a very young age.
Yes, Shamima Begum could return to Britain as EU judges, or indeed ECHR judges, lay down a formal challenge to the Home Office.
Yes, if at first you don't succeed, take it to the ECHR. Shamima Begum tried every avenue. The UK courts said no. Would she have more luck this time?
Tens of thousands of people who were expecting to travel to the Eurostar yesterday are furious this morning, waking up in cities where they did not expect to be.
And behind the New Year celebrations, pubs face a £32,000 business rates hit as punters are warned that prices of their next pint, well, they're set to surge.
And New Zealand is the first country to ring in 2026 with a spectacular fireworks display as the countdown begins to their neighbours in Australia, and we'll be there live.
Oh, it's very exciting, isn't it? 2025. Maybe it's a fact of getting older, but these years go quicker and quicker, every single one that happens.
Getting older? You're half my age. They literally, they hurtle.
Yeah.
The years hurtle. Once you get past, how old are you, 25?
I'm 30 this year.
Oh, my God.
This is 2026 is the year I turn 30, which is slightly concerning because it means I'm a proper adult and no longer can I get away with sort of childish things. But now I've sort of been trying to do the adulting thing.
Yes.
I now have a house. I now have a car. It's sort of getting on for being a proper grown-up human being.
He's doing well, isn't he? Yeah. He's doing well. You're almost there. When you get the lines and everything else like that.
I've started to get a couple of greys as well. That's how you know. That's the maturing.
Oh, my God,
yeah.
Yes, it's coming on quick, Tom.
There you go.
You've still got
it's
a
the stress of the job, Nana. The hairline's holding up for now, but, you know, maybe the years of being a silver fox are not too far away.
Yeah, so Catherine, what about you? Are you got any New Year's resolutions or anything?
Oh, do you know, I'm still pondering, but last year's was a bit disastrous because last year's I looked at my son who had transformed been going to the gym and just totally transformed himself. And I said total body transformation was mine last year. And then I didn't do any of the things I needed to do, and I put on half a stone. So there you go. So, yeah, I think I might not make any ridiculous ones this year, or maybe any at all.
I've got a new, one of my New Year's resolutions, something I've been trying to do for many years. I'm almost there now. It is to do the press handstand and a one-handed handstand.
A one-handed handstand?
A one-handed handstand.
Who can do that?
I'm training.
I've never even seen that.
A three-standing one-handed handstand?
Yeah, so one-handed handstand, where you go slowly, you come up and then you balance on one hand.
Well, this time next year, now, when we're sitting in this studio, I think there's some space. There's some space in front of the desk there. I am looking for maybe on the desk.
Why have I said this? Why have I said this out loud?
Mark this moment. This will happen on the 31st of December 2026. We will see that handstand.
What have I done? Listen, send us your New Year's resolutions as well, your thoughts, your comments. GBNews.com/your say, or scan the QR code that you see at the front of the screen. We'll be hearing live from Nigel Farage very shortly. But now it's the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after midday, well, the top story this hour, a nurse injured in yesterday's attack at a Merseyside hospital says she was nearly beaten to death and is lucky to be alive. 28-year-old Meg Lynch says she was struck from behind with a metal bar at Newton Community Hospital. She suffered head injuries that required CT scans and stitches. Police say a 20-year-old man was arrested at the scene after being refused an appointment and has since been detained under the Mental Health Act. Merseyside police say 6 people were injured but are in a stable condition, with high visibility patrols continuing while inquiries and forensic work remains ongoing. Repair work has been continuing overnight after major disruption to cross-channel rail services left tens of thousands of passengers stranded. Eurostar says it plans to run all services today but warns of possible delays and last-minute cancellations. That comes after a power supply fault and a broken-down train in the Channel Tunnel. The shuttle says delays have eased to around half an hour, while the tunnel operator GetLink says engineers have been working to fix an overhead power cable. Passengers are still being urged to check their journeys before travelling. More than 500 new ambulances are being rolled out across England in what the NHS says is its biggest fleet upgrade in years. The £75 million investment includes modern navigation systems and enhanced safety equipment to help crews to work faster and more safely. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the vehicles will improve patient comfort and help ambulances turn around more quickly.
£75 million this year, over £400 million over the next 4 years to make sure we've got a modern, effective fleet that provides safety for patients, efficiency and comfort for the crew.
Also this hour, the Queen has paid tribute to racing commentator John Hunt and his daughter Amy Hunt, whose family were murdered in a domestic attack last year. Speaking on Radio 4's Today programme, Queen Camilla said that their loved ones, would be so proud of them. She also revealed she was attacked on a train as a teenager, saying the experience left her angry for years and shaped how strongly she feels about domestic abuse. A Cardiff start-up is one step closer to making materials in space, with a factory the size of a microwave now orbiting the Earth. Spaceforge is testing a mini manufacturing lab designed to produce ultra-pure semiconductors in zero gravity. Engineers say they've successfully fired up a furnace inside a satellite, reaching 1,000 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to make high-grade electronic components. The company believes that space could deliver cleaner and more powerful chips. Britain is listening more than ever, with more than 210 million albums bought or streamed in the UK over the past year alone. Figures show consumption is up nearly 5%, driven by streaming vinyl and a British music revival. The biggest album of the year was, yes, Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl, while UK stars including Olivia Dean and Lola Young broke records both here at home and abroad. And let's take you live to scenes in Sydney, where the iconic Harbour Bridge has lit up in tribute to the victims of the Bondi terror attack ahead of the midnight fireworks in around an hour's time. A minute's silence has also just been held, with the bridge illuminated in white and a menorah projected onto the pylons. The last-minute change to celebrations came after Jewish creatives urged the city of Sydney to recognise the targeting of the Jewish community. The tribute also features a dove symbolising peace and the words peace and unity projected on the bridge too. Those are the latest headlines. Do stay with us later this hour for those spectacular fireworks from Sydney. Now, though, it's back to Tom and Nana.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good afternoon, Britain. Happy Christmas, Britain. Almost Happy New Year, Britain, too. It's 9 minutes past midday. Now, of course, as the year ticks to are we cantering to the end, or are we slowly? I don't know.
I think we're stumbling to the end.
Stumbling.
It's a very bad. Well, I mean, you know, I've had some good times, but that's not the point. I think people are very, very concerned about the direction of this government, and I think people are just drowning their sorrows. I think there's possibly. Am I right with that? Yeah.
Perhaps I should make clear this is just a cup of tea. Nothing stronger at this stage of the evening. But my goodness me, as we stumble towards the end of the year, Nigel Farage has used his New Year's message to go on the attack on this government and the previous government's handling of the British Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah returning to Britain.
The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has ordered a review of serious information failures concerning the case.
Well, let's take a listen to what the Reform Party leader had to say.
If we go on voting for the same old parties, I promise you, nothing will change. Think, just in the last few days, of the El Fattah case. Here's a guy that's come out of Egypt, come back to Britain, who's put out just the most abominable, hateful tweets about killing Jews, killing white people, fighting the police. And this man was given citizenship by the Conservative Party and welcomed back into Britain by the Labour Party. Frankly, there is little to choose between the two. We're the people offering hope. We're the people offering change. And 2025 showed you, with those county elections, which we won comfortably, what we are capable of. As we look forward to 2026, we have a massive set of elections. The whole of Scotland, the whole of Wales, all 32 London boroughs, county elections, thousands of council seats all over the country. And yet what are we now seeing? We're seeing a Labour government saying to those councils, if you want to cancel the elections, in some cases for the second year in a row, you can do so.
So, ahead of the upcoming elections, Lib Dem leader Ed Davey has also released his New Year's message. Let's have a listen to that.
Protecting our environment, fixing the NHS and social care, these are our battles. As well as standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, taking the fight to Nigel Farage and winning. And we can win again in 2026 in Scotland, Wales and across England, to stop Trump's America becoming Farage's Britain and change our country for the better. So from all of us at the Liberal Democrats, I hope you have a happy and hopeful new year. Let's make it a good one.
Notice the way the camera sort of jumped forward even closer to his face there. Did they do that? I don't think we did that to it. Why would you do that? It's trying to make it more interesting, I suspect.
I imagine it was probably covering a cut because
they joined
over a word or something,
up.
and they need a different camera angle or a different framing
a jump cut to avoid, to link.
But I don't know why he did it in front of such a dreary grey day. Find a brighter. There have been some bright days. If you want to do a hopeful message of hope, of politics, of change, of all the rest of it, find a blue sky to do it in front of, not a grey one.
And also, I just get bored of people whinging about other politicians and turning it into Trump's Britain, because I don't know what that really means. I mean, does that mean to you? It'll mean something different to somebody else. I'd like to hear what the Liberal Democrats actually do. I don't hear anything from them. I don't see how effective they are with their policy making, despite the fact of having, 70 MPs. I don't see anything
They're too busy on water slides most of the time.
Well, he is, yeah.
But of course, as all the politicians have been saying, 2026 is a big year for elections. They're happening in Scotland, in Wales, all the boroughs of London, and thousands of council seats right across England as well. It really is a bumper election year. So how do these messages show that party leaders are beginning to frame the arguments ahead of those elections?
And former Downing Street Director of Communications, Jonathan Haslam, joins us now. Jonathan, so it's an interesting moment here. A lot of people very upset about how the year has gone so far, including those who support Labour. There's been big talk about the fact that some of those elections are being cancelled by both Labour and Conservatives. So, in your view, how do you see things?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to you, Nana, and to Tom. And Nana, I'm not really sure we can afford to drown our sorrows now, looking at the price of a pint of pub these days. But we'll try and put a happy face on it. These are two fascinating pitches to the general public, more predominantly aimed at their existing supporters, I think, although Nigel Farage really does have a go at trying to paint a bigger picture. So they're both interesting in their own right. I was fascinated, actually, that Ed Davies is only a minute long. Nigel Farage gives himself a lot more time, more than about 5 minutes. And he's quite carefully chosen his backdrop. That's Greenwich. And he covers a lot of ground. So we're talking about slavery. I think that is an important thing to say. Perhaps Reform painted too often as a xenophobic party. Actually, we've got wider aspirations than that. We want legal immigration to be properly sorted. We don't want illegal immigration. The history was also interesting, I think, looking at Britain as a powerhouse. And there is a danger that they look back a little bit too much, but it's about framing where they are as a party. Because what we haven't heard really from Nigel Farage is anything about hard policies. He says, change for Britain, change the way we're governed, change we're going to have the way we operate. And a lot of play about the digital currencies and digital assets, and saying there might be an engine for growth up to a point, Lord Copper. There can also be an engine for swapping out jobs. And that's a big concern for people, particularly, I would venture, more that you go north of the country, north of London. That's a real concern. So they're trying to cover a lot of ground, but hitting their sweet spots. Ed Davey, the environment, you've got the National Health Service, social care, and Nigel Farage is talking about family, community and the country. So they've covered a lot of ground, and really fascinating the way they see themselves being pitched for 2026.
I thought it was so evocative, Nigel Farage being there in Greenwich, because not only is that where, well, all time is measured from. I mean, the only reason why we're deciding that it's New Year at midnight is because hundreds of years ago someone said that Greenwich is 0.0 for where our particular meridian begins. But more than that, what we also saw was a difference between the old and the new. Very often Reform is spoken about as being a sort of party that looks to the past. Our best days are behind us, wasn't it great? And there was a bit of that, talking about the Royal Navy, the Empire, all the rest of it. But also, and this was fascinating, this is one of my favourite views in London, standing there in Greenwich, looking at the majesty of the Royal Naval College, but also just across the river, to the majesty of the new. The financial district, the skyscrapers, the growth, the wealth that has come about in the last few decades. One of the few parts of the country that actually has grown. I wonder, Jonathan, that sight of the new with the old, is this Reform trying to tell us that it's ready for the future, not just looking to the past?
Oh, it's very much wants to try to tell us that it's looking to the future. That is very important because, Tom, you've hit the nail right on the head. People have pitched Nigel Farage as a man who's looking back to the 1950s, which I can remember and you can't. So I know what it was like in those days. And it wasn't all wonderful stuff, I can tell you. It was hard times for many people. But nonetheless, there is a certain nostalgia about that when economic growth was really something that was gaining ground, particularly after the Second World War, when we had to rebuild a huge amount, rebuild housing, rebuild a lot of factory space and so on, and build ourselves an infrastructure. The gradual development of motorways, for example, which started in the 50s and 60s. So, yes, he's trying to line himself, yes, to the past because it's important, but also cast forward. But in casting forward, he's not actually giving us as many clues as many people, certainly political journalists like us would like to see, about what it actually means. And the other thing he's got to be careful about, of course, is that while they're riding this bandwagon, it is the case that they now have a bit of a background of being in local government to defend. So people will say, yes, Nigel, but you told us you were bringing in departments of government efficiency within local authorities. And frankly, they've found diddly squat because local authorities are essentially a social service. That's where the vast majority of the ratepayers' money has to go. And again, when we're looking at economic growth, it's really important that they can now set themselves aside from Rachel Reeves and everything that she's done, which has been calamitous for the economy. I mean, hardly can you find a party which is less friendly in its practical application to what happens to businesses. So he's got to actually develop that, and it's got to be a bit more than saying, digital assets and cryptocurrencies. That's nice. You can pull that in, like they pulled in Doge because it's fancy in the States. Crypto is fancy in the States as well. But there are more hard and fast things that are important. Putting a spade in the ground is not to be underestimated in any way whatsoever.
All right, listen, it's really good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Jonathan Haslam. He is the former Downing Street Director of Communications. Thank you. Interesting messages, I thought. But again, I get bored of people saying Trump's America. It doesn't mean anything. And bringing in Elon Musk, it's all a bit, why does he have to talk?
A bit last year, isn't it? He left the government. Elon Musk's just a private American citizen now. He runs a space company, sure, but he's not running Doge anymore.
Why is he going on about that? And this is the thing. I want to see what they do in government. I guess they have a lot of work with local authorities. They're quite good in councils. A lot of people say that, but I just don't hear much from their MPs in the House of Parliament. They don't seem that vocal.
Yes, although I suppose it's difficult when you've got 72 MPs, I think it is. But because the Labour government has such a large majority, I mean, what you can actually do as an opposition MP is so very limited.
Well, Nigel Farage and his party, what are they on 5? Are they back up to 5? They've made more noise than this lot.
They've been 5, 4, 5, 4, 5.
But they got 5. They're making more noise than 72 as these lot, so I don't know. But listen, don't forget, you can join us from 10 this evening for our special New Year's Eve coverage with Bev Turner, Ben Leo, Alex Armstrong, Miriam Cates and Darren Grimes. Ring in the new year with us live here on GB News.
But moving on to another story this afternoon. The ISIS bride Shamima Begum has had her bid to return to the UK given a new lease of life. This after ECHR judges ordered the Home Office to justify stripping her of her British citizenship.
Yes, the lawyers for Shamima Begum, who left East London to join the Islamic State, not the lawyers, Shamima, that's when she was 15, have called this an unprecedented opportunity.
Well, our very own chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, has the story for us. Catherine, it seems like we've been talking about this story for the best part of a decade.
Yes, exactly, because she went in 2015. She was a 15-year-old schoolgirl. She went with 2 friends to Syria, married an ISIS fighter, had 3 children, all of which died, and then about 6 years ago decided that she wanted to come back. Now, Sajid Javid, who was then Home Secretary, said, no, you are a threat to our national security, and stripped her of her British citizenship. Part of the reason he was able to do that was because they said she could potentially go to Bangladesh. Bangladesh wanted nothing to do with her, so she is now stateless and stuck in a camp in Syria. But of course, she said that she'd seen people's heads in buckets and it didn't faze her. The Manchester Arena terror attack, she said, was justified. Now she's saying she wants to come back and has had a change of heart. There's been so many appeals to British courts. I remember vividly being one of them for GB News. A lot of the information was heard behind closed doors, so there's quite a lot that I don't think we will ever hear. But every appeal in British courts failed, including went right the way up to the Supreme Court. She lost that. And now, lo and behold, if at first you don't succeed, go to the European courts. So her lawyers are now saying this is an unprecedented opportunity. They are saying that they believe that the British government may have violated Shamima Begum's human rights and broken anti-trafficking laws. They say that she was lured, encouraged and deceived for the purposes of sexual exploitation, and that there were a catalogue of failures to protect a child that was known for weeks before to be at high risk, given that a close friend of hers had already gone to Syria. The government say they will robustly defend their decision. She is a threat to national security. The Conservatives, Robert Jenrick, has said under no circumstances should she ever be allowed to set foot in Britain. Again, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, has also said similar, said he's going to raise it on Monday in Parliament, and said, you know, she chose to go, and it is deeply concerning that the European Court of Human Rights is now looking at using the ECHR to make the UK take her back. He says he has no confidence that this Labour government will robustly defend, as it says it will, the UK's interests in this case.
See, the thing is, the problem here, I wonder who's paying for all this legal stuff. So is this coming from the British taxpayer? I'm wondering how that's happening. And also, if she did come back, which obviously I think is disgraceful, she shouldn't be back, but if she did come back, again, the British taxpayer would have to be funding some sort of security or protection, or whether she goes to prison or whatever. But again, we are expected to pay for this woman, and yet she was old enough to work out what she was doing, even if they say she was groomed. And even then, when she was there, she was quite abhorrent awful about the things that she had done, and she wasn't fazed by it at all, saying, no, she can't come back, surely. But who is paying for all this, I'm wondering? Do we have any idea?
I don't know, actually. That's a really good... I imagine she may be getting money through charities, but I'll try to find out. I think this is going to be very difficult for the government, because Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, is talking very, very, very tough. But fundamentally, we are signed up to the ECHR. If the UK government is found to have broken international law, it seems difficult to see how the government could then not take her back. And of course, that would feed in to the narrative. Many people think, the Prime Minister, former human rights lawyer, that this government often puts the rights of other citizens other than British citizens first, and prioritises other people. I mean, looking at Al Fatah as just one example, a man who got British citizenship, a few years ago, but is Egyptian, and was lauded, and now they found all these abhorrent tweets, as they say, but it seems like we're stuck with him, because they're pretty much saying that they will not be able to deport him.
I think someone might throw her under the bus, actually, just to get out of all of this, because if I were him, that would be the wisest thing to do, because of all this Al Fatah stuff that's come out as well. If he did
that would be politically difficult for him, because he's been such a strong supporter of the ECHR. I mean, it is possible to disregard ECHR rulings. He did it on prisoner voting, but it required a cross-party bill in the House of Commons that was voted for by both Labour and Conservative, and I think some Lib Dem MPs as well, that then sort of disapplied and made a solid cross-party statement of the House of Commons against an ECHR ruling on prisoner voting. I can't see how Keir Starmer is politically strong enough to put forward a motion that Conservatives and Lib Dems and his own backbench Labour MPs, who are remarkably rebellious, I can't see how Starmer could stand up to the ECHR.
I think he might for this, otherwise I think his political survival will be deeply, deeply even further at risk.
It'd go against all his instincts, though, wouldn't it? And I mean, look at the Chagos Islands, for example. Billions and billions and billions of pounds we're going to pay to hand over something which is ours to Mauritius that's never had it. The Chagossian people not consulted, but we were told that it's because, we're in breach of international law. I do understand that was actually an advisory.
They didn't have to listen, but they did, and sold us down the river.
Catherine Forster, thanks indeed for talking us through that. We'll be with you, of course, later in the programme too.
Right.
But we should say that a Home Office spokesperson has said this.
The government will always protect the UK and its citizens. That is why Shamima Begum, who posed a national security threat, had her British citizenship revoked and is unable to return to the UK. We will robustly defend any decision made to protect our national security.
Well, in other news, the King's 2026 New Year's Honours List has been released, recognising over 1,000 people for their dedication and service to the community.
Heading the list of those honoured are actors Idris Elba and Cynthia Erivo, among many others recognised for their outstanding contributions.
Well, the psychologist and life coach Pam Spur joins us now. Pam, thanks indeed for joining us. I suppose one thing that we all think about at this time of the year is what should we be doing next year? What might our resolutions be to try and improve our lives and think about how we could behave better in the years to come, or indeed the year to come, I should say. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Myself? Yeah, I've got one resolution. That's to keep on giving zero cares about the trolling I get on X, because I don't believe a man can become a woman. So it's just like empowering myself to keep going with my beliefs and my posts. But a Happy New Year to both of you and to your viewers. The big problem with resolutions is a whopping over 80% of people will give up their resolution before the end of January. And that's for three main reasons. First, people are guilty of making huge, sweeping resolutions like, I'll never argue with my partner again. Well, even the happiest couples argue. So on January 7th, when you do argue, you think, oh, well, might not bother with that resolution anymore anyway. The second main reason they fail is because they make a resolution about the symptoms of the issue and not the cause. So they say, oh my gosh, I'm going to give up all chocolate bars and sweets. Well, that's the symptom, your comfort eating. That's the symptom that why, what you're doing. The actual issue is, why are you comfort eating? Is it because your boss stresses you out, so you run out to the shop every lunchtime and buy chocolate bars? And the final reason why people give up is the first fail, they go, okay, I can't do it. Rather than sort of grouping and thinking, how can I do bite-sized steps to manage that resolution?
You know what, then? Do you think, Pam, that it is wise for people to make them at all? I always make New Year's resolutions, but they're things that will span a certain period of time, which I believe that I could potentially achieve, even though I usually do achieve at least, I'd say 80% of them. Do you think people are wise to put them down? Because, as you said, a lot of people don't really, they fail them within the first month.
Well, I think they're wise if they follow what you're saying you do. And you look at things and think, what's manageable? So if someone wants to start jogging again because 2 decades ago they used to keep fit on the running machine, well, what they need to do is bite-sized steps. So they go, okay, I'm going to jog twice a week for 10 minutes. And not say something to themselves like, I resolve to go for 40 minutes and I'm going to go 4 times a week. Well, again, that can just shatter your confidence, because that's a really hard step to take when you're resolving this to get back into fitness. So you need to do small steps so you can manage. And you also need to be organized. So you organize your steps. Like, one of my family members is finally going to take Spanish in the New Year's because it would help their job, and they've been putting it off for a few years. So I was talking to them about it, and I said, well, first off, next week, the first week of January, look at the options: face-to-face classes, online classes, or an app on your phone. So make the first step deciding how will you learn Spanish. The next step is then, well, if you're going to go by, online class, choose what looks like something that's got good ratings that maybe suits your time frame. And then in the third week, start doing it and allocate, I'm going to spend 45 minutes twice a week on my Spanish. Not every night. I've got to do an hour. So again, it's about organizing steps that make sense and that you can actually do.
Yeah, very, very important in terms of, it's very easy having an abstract idea, but without the crucial steps to get there, it is just still an abstract idea.
Can I give you one more tip that I think is really crucial? Don't shout it to the rooftops, because I know people who will tell all their workmates, all their family, all their friends that they're, say, giving up chocolate bars and sweets and sugar. Then they're bombarded the next time they see a workmate, a friend, a family member. They go, how's that sugar thing going? And the pressure is enormous. So kind of keep your resolution to yourself, so you're just not having that pressure from other people, unless you need to enlist a kind of buddy to, if it's something serious, like you're trying to, cut down on your alcohol intake or smoking, maybe then you want to have a kind of crisis buddy. But otherwise, if you keep it to yourself, you won't have everyone kind of reminding you that you've got these goals, and putting pressure on you.
So the one thing we shouldn't do is talk about it on national television, which I think we've all done over the course of the last half hour.
Well, see, I said, Pam, that I'm going to, my New Year's resolution, it's too late now, the cat's out of the bag, that I'm going to do the one-handed handstand. Now,
wow!
Yeah, I think I can do it. I mean, I can do two-handed handstands, and just to take one hand away shouldn't be that difficult, she says.
I can do two-handed handstands if I'm up against a wall, just not freestanding.
Yeah, you see,
perhaps that's one to do.
The one-handed handstand is slightly easier in a way because you've got to balance, she says. But I've announced it.
The sun coming in and out of my window, and I'm sort of in clouds and then the sun. And
we can see you, though. Don't worry, Pam. We can see you and we can hear you, which is all good. But anyway, listen, Pam, it's really good to talk to you. I prefer to announce them so that I have to do them. But I hear you. If you say not eating chocolate and then everyone's watching, she just had some chocolate, she said she wants to get it. Everywhere they go, she's eaten the chocolate, she's broken the resolution. Pam Spur, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, lots still to come on Good Afternoon Britain. Happy Christmas, Britain. Happy New Year, Britain. We'll be live in Sydney as Australia is set to welcome in 2026 in less than half an hour's time.
And next, find out how high prices could how high pint prices could rise to next year as pubs face a £32,000 business rate hit. All of that and much more after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 12:30, the top story. A nurse injured in yesterday's hospital attack in Merseyside says she was nearly beaten to death and is lucky to be alive. 28-year-old Meg Lynch was struck with a metal bar at Newton Community Hospital. Police say a 20-year-old Afghan man has been detained under the Mental Health Act. All 6 victims are now in a stable condition. Back live to Sydney, and the city's iconic Harbour Bridge has lit up in tribute to the victims of the Bondi terror attack ahead of the midnight fireworks. The tribute also featured a dove symbolising peace and the words peace and unity. Some New Year's Eve events there are cancelled out of respect for those who have been killed. Repair work continues this morning after chaos in the Channel Tunnel left tens of thousands stranded. Eurostar says all services are planned today, but warns of delays and last-minute cancellations. The shuttle says queues are now down to around half an hour, but passengers are still being urged to check before travelling. More than 500 new ambulances are being rolled out across England in what the NHS calls its biggest fleet upgrade in years. The £75 million investment includes upgraded navigation and safety systems, with the Health Secretary saying it will speed up response times. And the Queen has paid tribute to racing commentator John Hunt and his daughter Amy, whose family were murdered in a domestic attack last year. Speaking on Radio 4, Queen Camilla said their loved ones would be so proud, and also revealed that she was attacked on a train as a teenager. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you in around half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon, Britain. 36 minutes past 12. Now, as people get ready to ring in the new year in 11 hours and 24 minutes' time, or just 24 minutes' time if you're in Sydney. We'll be showing that very, very soon indeed. But people will ring in the new year in many pubs across the country, but those pubs are gearing up for one of those busiest nights.
Yeah, but the celebrations come with a warning. Venues face an extra £32,000 in business rates over the next 3 years, raising fears of closures.
Now, this is an astonishing number because at the budget, the Chancellor crowed about reducing costs for pubs. But speaking to publicans, they're seeing their costs going up. So what's the difference? How come this big cognitive dissonance? Let's speak to Dave Burns, the landlord of the Thomas Tripp pub in Christchurch. Thanks indeed for being with us. Now, this is all about the revaluation of businesses, of pubs, meaning those rates are going way up.
Yeah, so we expected business rate reform as per the Labour manifesto, and it came as a big surprise to us when the revaluation for the premises came in. What it effectively means is an extra £23,000 this year on our rates, just due to the rateable value going up. So although they might have held the multiplier, the actual rate itself has been increased significantly. And then with the loss of the help that we had, the 40% discount, it's going to hit many businesses hard.
When you hear the government coming up with policies like that, so obviously the revaluation then increases the rates, what are your first thoughts about the Labour government? And also, in your view, are you going to let them in your pubs?
So, you know, successive governments have not helped this sector. However, this Labour government, with what they've done with the national insurance rate rises, the consistent rise in the minimum wage, which hits us hard, no cap on energy, realistically, and our VAT rates being out of line with most of Europe, you know, this just is the nail in the coffin, and it will be for many businesses. It's, you know, it's just crippling small business. We've taken on the campaign of no Labour MPs, you know, not lightheartedly. You know, it could potentially lose us business. However, since going with this, the support has been overwhelming. I think the public understand, you know, the challenges we face. And we've tried all the conventional methods. You know, we've petitioned, we've got thousands and thousands of signatures, but our government are not listening to us. So this is the only way we seem to be able to be heard. And, you know, we were one of the first to take it up with James. James Fowler is a good friend of mine, and we've now got 1,500 pubs on board. And it looks like other small businesses are now taking that step as well, including barbershops, hairdressers, and rightly so. We're not being listened to, and something has to change.
Well, this is the thing. You're doing everything that you can to get more punters through the doors at a time when, quite frankly, people up and down the country don't have a lot of spare cash anyway. But my goodness me, even if you do everything that you possibly can in the most successful way to have a busy and full pub, you might not see any more money for it because your taxes are just withdrawing any extra custom that you get. £20,000 more this year in rates that you have to pay. I mean, how many more customers does that have to be just to break even compared to last year?
The numbers just add up. They don't add up. They don't add up. And the VAT rate is massive. I mean, we've been campaigning and very critical of successive governments on that. We're so out of line. You know, many are calling for a 13% rate. I think it needs to be less than that. I think it needs to be 10%, just the way things are structured. And the Labour MPs, the local Labour MPs, you know, that have reacted to this ban, they do have a choice. Yeah, they're meant to be representing local people and their constituents. But these party career politicians would rather just toe the line and not stand up. This is what they need to do. They need to stand up and realise that this is hitting their local economies hard. And it will be horrible. From April onwards, this is going to be a horrible, horrible time.
And it's not just that, actually, because you've got the Employment Rights Bill coming as well, or some people are calling it the Unemployment Rights Bill, which I think, especially for pubs who probably rely on employees who can come in and come out, so kind of 0 hours, but not really 0 hours, but just, you know, they need flexibility, that's going to hit hard.
You know, we've got 5 venues and we employ 100 staff across those 5 venues. And these laws, these taxes are making it basically, there's no point. What is the point in us sticking our necks out, you know, and running these businesses when there's no profit in it? You know, there really isn't. And these employment laws, these taxes that they keep on putting on us, for you know, and the taxes, going back to the taxes, it's due to their incompetence. We're having to pay it. Maybe they should look at their own situations and sort their own stock out before coming to us and asking for money. Why don't they just look at themselves and actually make the savings, make the cuts, make just become more efficient in what they do rather than just splurging money and expecting us to pay for it.
Well, this is the crazy thing. At the budget, the Chancellor increased welfare spending by billions and billions of pounds. Just yesterday, we learned that the British government is paying for a sex chat app in sub-Saharan Africa as part of our foreign aid programme. That we spend billions on migrant hotels. And we're taking 20,000 quid from your pub to do all of that. It's nonsense.
Well, we're going to give them council houses, aren't we? Brand new council houses. It's just absurd. Listen, we could talk to you for ages, Dave. We have to go. We wish you all the best. I hope the pub is super busy. That is Dave Burns. He's the landlord of the Thomas Tripp pub in Christchurch. Check it out for New Year's Eve. I'm sure it'll be a blast. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Now, of course, if you own a pub and you're whacked with a lot of tax from Rachel Reeves, you might want to enter into our Great British Giveaway. Yes, it's just around the corner, and it could win you £85,000 in, get this, tax-free cash. Yes, Rachel Reeves can't get her hands on it.
Well, she might try.
85,000.
No, I think she'll try.
She'll get it now. Get it before the next budget, before she's going to grab it from you. Anyway, here are all the details you need to win.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to splash on anything you can dream of. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. £85,000 is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It's totally tax-free, which means that every single penny of it will be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck with that one, but still to come, we'll be discussing why Primrose Hill is closed for New Year's Eve this year. Does Sadiq Khan have something to do with it?
But if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, perhaps not quite as far as Sydney, but we'll be there in 15 minutes' time, here's a look at the European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, are you heading away for the new year? Well, there is some unsettled weather, some cold weather across Europe, in fact. Storm Francis is bringing some very wet weather to the Canaries through New Year's Day and into the weekend, as well as parts of Spain and Portugal. Comparatively drier for more central areas, though it is colder than it usually is at this time of year. The good news is, though, as it turns colder for the UK, it will slowly start to warm up into next week in the east. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. As we go through the rest of this New Year's Eve, well, it's going to be fine but cold for many of us. However, we do have some showers pushing into the north, and here we're going to see the winds strengthening as well. It's because the high pressure that's been around through recent days, that is retreating a little bit further towards the northwest. So that will allow for the winds to strengthen in the north and those showers to feed in as well. Initially, they're going to be falling as rain, but we are going to see a bit of snow arriving later on. Like I said, towards the south, however, it's staying largely fine, albeit a few mist and fog patches could linger into the afternoon. It is a chilly day, despite the fact that there'll be plenty of sunshine around. Temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year and feeling even colder with those strong winds towards the north. Now, as we head through this evening and towards midnight, an early frost across some southern parts and some mist and fog could again develop quite quickly through the start of the night. But as we head towards midnight itself, it's a tale of two halves, really. Windy gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour around Orkney, Shetland and the far north of Scotland, and plenty of showers across much of Scotland. Some of those showers feeding into Northern Ireland and Northern England too. Drier further south across central southern parts of England and Wales. A largely fine start to New Year's Day, albeit we are going to see a bit more cloud sinking its way southwards, and as a result that's going to lift the temperatures a little bit after a cold frosty start to the night towards the far south. By the time that we get to around dawn, we're looking at temperatures being a few degrees above freezing for many. More snow showers piling in across parts of Scotland as we go through New Year's Day. Also a swathe of something a little bit wet and perhaps a bit wintry pushing its way across parts of Northern Ireland into England and Wales as well as we go through Thursday. Otherwise, it is going to be a cold feeling day, especially when you factor in the brisk winds.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. In Scotland, the A83 is restricted both ways at Loughnell Street in Loch Gilphead because of emergency roadworks, so allow extra time. In the West Midlands, the A5 northbound is shut between the A452 and the A34 after a crash, with normal conditions expected between 1:30 and 1:45 this afternoon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has major engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton or Rugby, while Cross Country reports major engineering work in the Cambridge area, plus disruption between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 49 minutes after midday. Now, the Metropolitan Police have announced that Primrose Hill will be closed this evening for New Year's Eve, with officers fencing off the area.
Yeah, the move comes amid wider changes to policing in the capital after the Mayor Sadiq Khan scrapped the Royal Parks Police.
Now, this is a contrast to the cities like Sydney, where dozens of designated viewing areas have been set aside for New Year's celebrations.
Well, delighted to now be joined by the leader of the London Conservatives in the London Assembly, Susan Hall. Susan, in previous years, of course, Primrose Hill has been a brilliant spot for free, where ordinary people can go and watch a marvellous fireworks display. Obviously, there's been some difficulty in Primrose Hill. There was a horrible stabbing there 2 years ago, and clearly that's come into the...
That shouldn't stop everything, though, should it?
Well, if it's adequately policed, then it's fine. But instead of doing the policing work, it seems that the Mayor has decided to just fence the whole area off.
Yeah, and I feel so sorry for young people who are the ones that are more likely to go up there. Apparently there were 30,000 people there last year, but because it was impromptu, it wasn't organised properly, security was not put in place. And now, of course, we're using police to keep people out as opposed to keeping people safe, which, you know, begs the question about our Metropolitan Police. And is it Sadiq Khan's fault? Yes, he does not fund them properly. And to actually get rid of the Royal Parks Police was ridiculous. We've got over 5,000 acres of land on our Royal Parks, and now we're expecting safer neighbourhood teams to keep them safe. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
It doesn't really make much sense, really, why he would not allow that to go ahead. It could even be policed. If it was a pro-Palestine protest or something like that, then they'd find the police and everything for it. So what is his reasoning for it? Why?
Well, actually, it's all run by the Royal Parks charity, and it's they who have actually asked the police to close the parks and make sure people don't get there. So it's actually run by that. But it's all exacerbated by the fact that we haven't got proper Royal Parks police, and we should do. But you both Londoners, you know how bad things are in London now anyway. We are so short of police officers. We're not recruiting enough. And that is down to Sadiq Khan, who is our Police and Crime Commissioner.
It seems like it was a political decision to shut down the Royal Parks Police Service that had been running for donkey's years, and it ended in October. I mean, I'm now worried. Are we going to see more and more of our parks just fenced off because they can't be policed anymore?
Yeah, because they can't be kept safe. And it wasn't just the Royal Parks Police, dog units, horse units, forensics. There were so many officers taken out of units that some of them we wouldn't be aware of so much. Those of us that do a lot of work with the police are. But it's absolutely dreadful, the amount of money that needs to go into the police for them to keep us safe. This is what he should be concentrating on, not all the other sort of pet projects he's got. And you mentioned Sydney. I mean, in Sydney, there are 48 spots to see these wonderful fireworks. 39 of them are free for their residents to go and have a look. And we want to bring young people into London. We want people to come in and enjoy themselves. And if all we do is fence places off so that people can't have a good time, it's absolutely appalling.
All right. Suzanne Hall, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much. That is leader of the London Conservatives, Suzanne Hall. Happy New Year, Susan.
Very happy New Year. Now, we should say that a spokesperson for the Mayor of London has previously said nothing is more important to the Mayor than keeping London safe, and he continues to lead the way by being tough on crime with a record £1.16 billion in support for the police this year alone, and tough on the complex causes of crime through the country's first violence reduction unit, which is leading an approach rooted in prevention and intervention.
All right, well, listen, coming up, we'll be live in Sydney as Australia is set to celebrate New Year's Eve, but first, the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. As we go through the rest of this New Year's Eve, well, it's going to be fine but cold for many of us. However, we do have some showers pushing into the north, and here we're going to see the winds strengthening as well. It's because the high pressure that's been around through recent days, that is retreating a little bit further towards the northwest. So that will allow for the winds to strengthen in the north and those showers to feed in as well. Initially, they're going to be falling as rain, but we are going to see a bit of snow arriving later on. Like I said, towards the south, however, it's staying largely fine, albeit a few mist and fog patches could linger into the afternoon. It is a chilly day, despite the fact that there'll be plenty of sunshine around. Temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year and feeling even colder with those strong winds towards the north. Now, as we head through this evening and towards midnight, an early frost across some southern parts and some mist and fog could again develop quite quickly through the start of the night. But as we head towards midnight itself, it's a tale of two halves, really. Windy, a gust of 60 to 70 miles per hour around Orkney, Shetland and the far north of Scotland, and plenty of showers across much of Scotland, some of those showers feeding into Northern Ireland and Northern England too. Drier further south across central southern parts of England and Wales. A largely fine start to New Year's Day, albeit we are going to see a bit more cloud sinking its way southwards, and as a result, that's going to lift the temperatures a little bit after a cold, frosty start to the night towards the far south. By the time that we get to, well, around dawn, we're looking at temperatures being a few degrees above freezing for many. More snow showers piling in across parts of Scotland as we go through New Year's Day. Also a swathe of something a little bit wet and perhaps a bit wintry pushing its way across parts of Northern Ireland into England and Wales as well as we go through Thursday. Otherwise, it is going to be a cold feeling day, especially when you factor in the brisk winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Yeah, so when I was 5 years old,
one of my family members, friends, was looking after me one day, like babysitting me. And then on that day, it was a well-trusted friend of our family, was babysitting me and took me upstairs, and he raped and abused me. So from then on, I've suffered and suffered. One of the things that he did say to me was that he would kill me or hurt me in my sleep. So ever since then, I've always suffered with PTSD, night terrors. It never goes away.
It took 20 years for you to face it to
20
this.
years, yeah, to ever come out about what had ever happened to me. My parents didn't know. I didn't tell them anything.
Because a lot of men in your position, a lot of boys in position, they'd rather just take the burden of shame on. That comes at a great, can come at a great cost.
Yeah, lots of friends and family, and I was just scared to tell them, you know, because obviously as well, if I did ever say anything about it, he was going to come and get me. So I managed to find an organisation which is charity run called Arch Teesside, which is near where I live, and I went to go see them. And my therapy at the time, the guy was called Dave Taylor, and he was a big guy, full of tattoos, and you know, when you see somebody, you think, how am I going to open up to somebody of this man, you know? And I hit it off, like, straight away. And I've always told him, this is what I love doing. I love going to the gym. I want to step on stage by the time I'm 40. And then that's what I went and did.
And look at you there, man. I mean,
that's what my modelling shots, yeah.
You said in your book there, hold your book up, people want to get a copy of this book. Tell them what it's called, mate.
Buy the book.
What's the book called, mate? Tell them.
It's called Breaking the Silence, A Champion's Journey.
And this is it. And your message that you say, if you help one other person out there to channel their pain into purpose, mission accomplished, mate.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's not quite 1 o'clock. Why? Because it's not quite midnight in Sydney. Yes, we're looking at the famous Sydney Harbour Bridge in Australia, where that country is about to welcome in the new year on its east coast. So while we wait for these fireworks, we'll also reflect on our new year, which is going to be ringing in just 11 hours' time.
I know, isn't it? I mean, this country, I think, has been an interesting year. But I think tonight I shall be doing a very quiet, boring thing at home with a little glass of champagne.
Oh, really?
And my lovely fiancé and my little son and daughter.
Oh.
That's it. Actually, no, my daughter's going to her friend's house after the evening, so it's me and little Ivory and Stephen.
I've had some big New Years in my time, in nightclubs with thousands of people, but I've also had smaller New Years. This year I'm leaning on the smaller side, just sort of a dozen or so friends.
Oh, that's nice.
In our house, we're sort of everyone's cooking. I'm making starters, but
what are you going to make?
I'm thinking salmon blinis, but we are looking, of course, at the countdown in Australia. 18 seconds.
15, I think.
15 seconds
14,
has just gone.
13. We're going to town. 10.
10 seconds
9.
now. Oh, you
8,
can see the bridge.
7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, Sydney!
Happy New Year, Sydney!
Wow, it is officially 2026 down under.
Yeah, look at that beautiful celebrations. They're stunning. It's such a lot of vantage points. The bridge is literally on fire, so not actually on fire. But this is going to be a very expensive celebration. They have gone to every effort, haven't they?
They have all the colours under the sun. You've got reds and greens and yellows and bright whites. I mean, the magenta display that we're seeing there now, focusing around the world-famous Sydney Harbour Bridge, of course, but fireworks being let off not just all across the bridge, but also on either bank there as well. We can see just the most extraordinary linear display, really, spanning across the harbour. And it is an incredibly colourful display too for those listening on the radio.
Well, for them, they've got so many different vantage points, apparently. I've done a little bit of Googling, and they said there are 48 vantage points that you can go and see this bridge at. And I'm presuming that a lot of these are very popular with families. There's a place called Birch Grove to the western side of the Harbour Bridge. There's a place called Blues Point, a very popular site with panoramic views of the western side of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. It is such a beautiful location, this, isn't it? And they, I presume, in Sydney, unlike here, Mayor Khan shutting off things, they've made it accessible to people because the demonstration is so incredible.
But of course, there is a heavy police presence.
Of course, yes.
Let's not forget Sydney is a city that has suffered its worst terror attack just what was it, a couple of weeks ago?
That's right.
When all of those Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah were mowed down by Islamist terrorists. So this is a celebration for a city, but it's also a city that must be in a certain sense of shock and still reeling from that horrific attack just weeks ago.
Well, I think they had a minute's silence, I think, at 11 o'clock to just remember those who were lost after that awful attack. So, yeah, these people are not forgotten, and Sydney will be the richer in the end because it sounds like they're going to make proper moves to try and ensure and control gun laws, although I'm not sure that's the right idea, but that is the way they're going.
But also, what a proper celebration this is, showing that they are not cowed by terrorism, that they are not going to change their way of life because of two murderous Islamists. This is a display showing that Australia can punch back, that it can celebrate together, that people can come to those, 48 vantage points.
That's right.
And look at this magnificent firework display to ring in what everyone will hope to be a very happy 2026.
All right, well, let's go to somebody who's actually there. David Hogan, who joins us now from Sydney. David, welcome to the programme. Happy New Year. You're before us. Talk to us. What can you see and what's it like there?
The New Year, I'm here in Kirribilli, which is right on the centre front of the harbour, and I've got fantastic array of fireworks out there. So I've got the whole harbour, the Opera House, the harbour bridge, and it's incredible, even better than last year.
Even better than last year? Is it a bigger display? Is it sort of more colourful? What's the difference?
There's a lot of drones up this year that are shooting fireworks out. Usually the fireworks only come from the bridge from the boats down below, but the drones have really added to it this year.
No, it is absolutely marvellous to see. I mean, we're getting the most incredible aerial shots, but to feel the environment must be pretty spectacular too. I've got to ask you, David, of course, Sydney is a city that has been struck by terrorism in recent weeks. Has that changed how the city's been behaving? Has that changed the sense of this celebration tonight?
It's obviously an air of sadness, but I think everyone's mentally committed to rise above this, and one of the good ways to do that is just to go about life as we have before. And we're all proud Australians, we'll love to bring in the new year and celebrate our national events and things like that. So I think everyone's gathered together and remembered to, we don't need to be pressured by others regarding how we live our lives, and we need to just continue on how we were before.
And this evening, just finally, talk to us about what you'll be doing. Obviously, you're here celebrating now. Is that how you'll spend the rest of the evening, just around? Are you in your house or you're near the bridge somewhere? Talk to us about what you'll be doing this evening.
So I'll be staying here. I'm on a fantastic apartment. It's in the building I used to live in. So I'll be in the harbour. I'll be here with all my good friends and family, and just continuing to drink the champagnes and bringing the new year, and hopefully bringing the year where Australia wins the FIFA World Cup.
Well, marvellous stuff. David, I hope you have a very, very happy New Year and celebrate with all your friends there. What a marvellous vantage point you have. Thanks indeed for speaking to us live there from Sydney, just overlooking the harbour. Well, with us in the studio is our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Before we get on to another topic, just your thoughts on this display that we're seeing. I mean, of course, Sydney, a resilient city in the face of terror.
Yes, after those horrendous attacks on Bondi Beach just a couple of weeks ago. But this is one of the most spectacular displays, isn't it, always?
Yes, it certainly is.
Listen, just to remind you, look where we're now, if you've just tuned in, we are now looking live at the pictures from the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Of course, Australia has brought in 2026 a matter of 6 minutes ago, and the festivities are high. We've just spoken to a resident of Sydney. He's celebrating with his family. He said that this year was even better than last because this year they had drones chucking out the fireworks, which is quite incredible because drone technology has really come in leaps and bounds. And I would say possibly since the war in Ukraine, that's been a high part of why drones have been used. But now, obviously, to enhance a firework display display.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot more of them, aren't we? But this is, of course, a pretty spectacular and long-lasting firework display. We got onto this firework display. It's getting on for 7 minutes now, which is a real show of strength. But I suppose Sydney is one of those cities that does kick off this chain. And I remember every New Year, it's always, what is it, Sydney, Beijing,
that's because they're
London, New York. It's sort of the
New
big major cities around the world that sort of the world looks to, sort of these focal points in different time
It sort of
zones.
goes downhill, doesn't it? It starts off mega, and then by the time you get to the UK, it's like a...
Oh, no, I won't have that. In the UK, it's magnificent,
but the
centred on the London Eye.
No, the fireworks, though, no. They don't compare to these.
Oh,
These
no,
still go.
I won't have that. Don't talk Britain down.
To this. I'm not talking
Absolutely.
Britain down. I'm talking London, and I blame Sadiq Khan.
I beg to differ. I mean, of course, Sydney Harbour and the bridge, it is so spectacular. But London, I mean, we didn't used to really do much, did we, till the millennium? And it was.
I think the millennium
Edinburgh.
changed things a bit.
That's when it changed.
Because ultimately what we have now is this focal point for the fireworks in London, which is the London Eye, the Millennium Wheel.
I'm not going to let you get away with telling me that I'm talking London down. That is not fair.
No?
I'm saying that comparatively, this... I mean, look, they've got 48 vantage points
They
that they
do.
can go watch. We've even closed not we, Sadiq Khan and his friends, they've closed Primrose Hill, so people can't even watch the fireworks.
That is fair.
And so that's my point.
I think that is a fair point, Nana. There are.
How dare you,
Oh
Tom
no,
Harwood?
okay. I think that is a fair point. There are fewer places to watch this year, and that is a shame. But I think we should hold our
Catherine's
fire
put her hand up.
before we
get in on this.
Go on, Catherine.
Go on, Catherine.
I absolutely think that London is right up there with Sydney now. We didn't used to be. I think it changed at the millennium. But because, as we say, we've got the Eye, the fireworks go on sometimes for about 10 minutes. And we've also had incredible drone displays. So, yes, Sydney is there a long time before us, but I think we are now right up there. Honestly,
yeah, but what
I
about
do.
Mayor Khan, right? He has closed Primrose Hill, so people can't go watch it.
Yeah.
So this is the problem,
That does seem very bar humbug, I think, but somebody died a
Royal
couple of years
Parks.
ago. And I know Sydney has got, like, literally dozens of free
They have just had a
vantage
terror
points.
attack.
Yeah,
and
they
they're
have.
still able to carry on.
But Sydney is geographically much more spread. I mean, I was in Sydney for the first time just over a year ago. So I do feel it's very bar humbug to close Primrose Hill.
Exactly.
Is it because they couldn't resource the police? Is that
Yes,
that's the
well,
reason?
the argument
It
is...
seems like a real shame.
Yeah, disgraceful.
No, it does seem that it's something to do with the Royal Parks police service, which the mayor shut down for cost saving. What isn't being shut down for cost saving?
Well, they only
at
had
the moment,
64 officers there anyway, but he shut that down. And then obviously, as Suzanne Hall explained, there are other kind of things, other kind of policing bodies that would help with this, and a lot of those have been shut down as well.
But despite the fact that I've lived in London for a very long time, I've never physically seen the London fireworks. Physically, I've never been
You've always
there.
watched them on TV.
I've always watched them on telly. Have you gone down? Have you got tickets? I've never been organised.
When I worked in Parliament for a bit, and I was lucky enough to get tickets to watch them from the terrace of the House of Commons.
Oh, wow.
Which was just the most amazing place to watch them from, and the tickets are quite exclusive. But it was just the most... I mean, you are right on the riverfront there. I mean, probably the closest of anyone to the... And the best thing was you didn't really have to deal with the queues, and there's a bar right there. So
This is the thing. This is our MPs have got it all nice and easy. If they want to, they can pop down to Parliament and watch it all and relax. They don't need to worry about Primrose Hill being shut down so that we, the general public, the hoi polloi, can't go and watch it whilst we are paying for this wonderful display that's going to cost us millions. I think we really need to have a rethink as to how the city is run and how we behave, because there is no expense spared in the Sydney firework display.
Yeah,
there are
we should
lots
have
of
more
vantage points. In fact, if anything, as a mayor of London, I would be enhancing the ability to see the fireworks. And I would make sure that Primrose Hill was available for people to go and enjoy something, to bring in the new year, for goodness sake.
I'm trying to think where else in London would be high enough that you could actually see them. There's not many obvious places.
Well, I suppose you could have vantage points all along the river. You wouldn't be able to see the sort of stuff on the wheel, but you would be able to see... I mean, a lot of it is very high up in the sky. Frankly, I mean, I've only ever been close to the fireworks on that one occasion from Parliament, but there have been other years where I've been out and about, and you can see the fireworks up in the sky from miles around.
Yeah, but that's still... That's great, but if you've got an apartment with a window that happens to be in where you can get to see them, but I just still think that where there are proper proper vantage points where this can be seen, we should be celebrating the New Year and you know, maybe take some of the money that he's using to pay for the fireworks to make sure that people can go and actually view the fireworks. Otherwise.
Yeah. Last year I hosted a New Year's party at my place, and I hosted a couple of dozen people on the promise of being able to see the fireworks from my rooftop. Which
could they really? Could you?
Not quite. It was slightly. I was hoping that you could. There were just slightly too many buildings in the way. You could see the edge of the fireworks from the rooftop, and I had sparklers, so there was some pyrotechnics. But yeah, no, you could see the very edge of some of these big explosions, and you could definitely hear them. So there was that atmosphere.
But look at this, it's still going on. It's almost 13 minutes now, and they're going just as strong as they began, and it's just wonderful.
They've got a better backdrop though, haven't they? Because they've got the whole of the bay, whereas we've got the river. But I still think ours are great. I don't know what they cost, but also the pictures go around the world. It's a great advert for Britain and for London, isn't it?
Well, then why not allow Primrose Hill to be open? It just sounds to me, yes, somebody died. It's very, very sad. But as they explained, it was an impromptu thing. People just sat there. There was no real. Now they know that they should police it properly.
Wow! I've just had a look at the numbers.
Oh, wow! It's just
in 2023. Oh well, Happy New Year, Sydney. I should say.
Happy New Year to Sydney. That's
absolutely. I find it extraordinary that it is already 2026 in so many parts of the world. But back here in the past, it's still 2025. It was 2026. We've gone back to the past, not quite back to the future.
Back to the future.
Yeah, back to the past. But in 2023-4, it cost £4 million to put on the firework display in London. In 2024-5, last year, they halved the budget to just £2.5 million. I wonder if this year will be similar to last year, because 2 years ago it was almost double the budget, so it could be a smaller display.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair enough. If you're going to cut down on the display and save money, that's fine, but at least allow people to sit in places where they can see it. You know, that's
I think it is a big, important point for the United Kingdom to be one of those big stops that people around the world watch this. I mean, just as we've watched the Sydney fireworks, everyone in America will be watching the fireworks in London come in. I mean, it's a big point, right? As they're all at their parties on the east coast of the United States going, it's just 5 hours to go, let's check in on London and see how they're doing.
Well, listen, don't forget, though, because obviously if you're staying in and you're because I'm staying in tonight, so that'll be wonderful. You can join us from 10 o'clock tonight for our special New Year's Eve coverage. Well, you'll be joined by Bev Turner, Ben Leo, Alex Armstrong, Miriam Cates, and also Darren Grimes. Interestingly, Miriam will have to get up very early for Britain's newsroom tomorrow. She's going to be doing that with Camilla.
Or she'll just plough on and do the all-nighter, perhaps.
She might as well just stay awake. There's a shower downstairs, she can leave stuff here. Well, listen, ring in the new year with us. We are live on GBNews. You can watch the fireworks from the comfort of your own home and watch it through us.
Absolutely. But moving on, it's all a bit New Year's-y today, isn't it?
Of course it is, because it's New Year's Eve, Tom.
But that makes sense. But with the new year, it's not just about the celebration, it's about what's happening in that new year too. And there's a definite pitching for votes going on among the politicians. When isn't there? Yes, Nigel Farage has used his New Year's message to go on the attack on this government and the previous government's handling of the British-Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah returning to Britain.
Yeah, it's a shocker, isn't it? And now the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has ordered a review of serious information failures concerning the case. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Even I could have Googled or gone on to X and found out the stuff that was found out. So, it is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, let's take a listen to what Nigel Farage had to say.
If we go on voting for the same old parties, I promise you, nothing will change. Think, just in the last few days, of the El Fattah case. Here's a guy that's come out of Egypt, come back to Britain, who's put out just the most abominable, hateful tweets about killing Jews, killing white people, fighting the police. And this man was given citizenship by the Conservative Party and welcomed back into Britain by the Labour Party. Frankly, there is little to choose between the two. We're the people offering hope. We're the people offering change. And 2025 showed you, with those county elections, which we won comfortably, what we are capable of. As we look forward to 2026, we have a massive set of elections. The whole of Scotland, the whole of Wales, all 32 London boroughs, county elections, thousands of council seats all over the country. And yet what are we now seeing? We're seeing a Labour government saying to those councils, if you want to cancel the elections, in some cases for the second year in a row, you can do so.
I mean, it is a shocker, cancelling elections. That's what dictators do. I mean, that is not how we roll, but that's what these governments... And it's not just Labour, it's Conservatives as well wanting to cancel it too, so they're all running scared. But
although I think the Conservative Party's slightly divided on this, because the leadership of the Conservative Party says it's disgraceful these are being cancelled, and then there's one or two Conservative councils that are sort of saying, oh, we'd quite like these elections to be cancelled, please.
Well, we'll see, because I think they were amongst the previous ones. Some of them cancelled those. So let's have a look at what the Lib Dem leader, Sir Ed Davey, who also released his New Year's message, had to say. Let's take a listen.
Protecting our environment, fixing the NHS and social care, these are our battles. As well as standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, taking the fight to Nigel Farage and winning. And we can win again in 2026 in Scotland, Wales and across England to stop Trump's America becoming Farage's Britain and change our country for the better. So, from all of us at the Liberal Democrats, I hope you have a happy and hopeful new year. Let's make it a good one.
Well, there's Sir Ed Davey. But with the new year comes, of course, these local elections that everyone's been talking about. And these are really significant local elections, because it's not just one or two councillors here or there. No, it's the Scottish Parliament. It's the Welsh Senedd. It's every single London borough, and it's thousands of councillors up and down England as well. So how will these parties fare in this truly national contest?
Well, let's speak to GB News' chief political correspondent. Sorry, Catherine. Catherine Forster, who joins us now. Right, Chief, talk to us about this, because it's, as Tom says, this is the big one. How dare they even contemplate cancelling any of them?
Well, the Labour Party are saying that it's up to individual councils, and if the councils feel they've got the capacity to go ahead, that they can go ahead. But if they feel that they haven't, and of course councils have got pretty squeezed budgets at the moment, so Labour are basically saying it's up to individual councils, and this is of course because they're having a massive reorganisation of how local government works.
I don't buy that, Catherine, at all. They would have known that they are going to reorganise it. Who cares if they're reorganising? They should still have elections. It's like saying, hey, listen, vote yourself, vote for your own job, to stay in your own job.
But in most cases, it's not necessarily benefiting Labour. It's benefiting quite often Conservative seats who might lose to Reform. But look, nevertheless, no matter how many local elections don't go ahead in May, it is a massive set of elections, council elections, and in Scotland, and for the Senedd in Wales. And I think it's likely to be horrendous for Labour, and it could potentially trigger the ultimate removal of the Prime Minister if things go very badly. Now, obviously, Labour will hope to get off on the front foot in the new year, but given how this year is ending with this El Fatah fiasco, and we saw Nigel Farage there using it as an example of the system being broken. This is the Tories' fault for giving him citizenship. This is Labour's fault for saying they're delighted and this guy is a threat to us. It's perfect for Nigel Farage to say, look, these guys have had their chance. I thought the battle of the backdrops, definitely Nigel Farage won, because there he was, Greenwich, our proud naval history, obviously the new year, Greenwich Mean Time, and also this city in the background. And he's talking about AI and tech and say, look, the other guys don't get it. We understand this is the future, the growth and all the rest of it. And I think, too, talking about family, community, country, that will resonate with a lot of people.
It's hard to think of a single other location anywhere across the United Kingdom that could get all of that symbolism in one single shot. I think they've done a marvellous job on location setting there. But, Catherine, I think you raised a really interesting point there, which is if these local elections go really badly for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, I mean, I'm remembering back to the 2019 local elections and European elections that precipitated the fall of Theresa May as Prime Minister. The Tory party got 9% in the European elections, and the week after, Theresa May resigned. There were local elections, I think, in 2022, when Oliver Dowden resigned as the chairman of the Conservative Party after the Conservatives' bad performance. That precipitated the fall of Boris Johnson. Obviously, general elections often mean the resignation of party leaders. it's very often these moments that become the sort of catalyst for something that people have been discussing for some time.
Yes, and you can look at the polls all you like, and we know the latest poll approval rating for the government is on the floor. Only 12% of people approve of the government's performance, 68% disapprove. But you look at the polls, but it's only when you have, like we had last May, people actually go to the polls that it becomes real, because polls can always be wrong. So I think very dangerous for the Prime Minister unless they can pull something out of the bag to make people feel that things are getting better. The thing that might keep him in position is there's no real unity around who would be better placed to take over, because pretty much all of them don't poll any better with the public,
They're all
apart
useless.
from Andy Burnham,
Useless,
who's the
a lot
Mayor
of
of
them.
Greater Manchester, who doesn't have a seat.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all just terribly bad. They're all just as bad as each other. I don't know which one's worse. That's just my view, though.
Although,
I'm sure some people think...
Sit on the fence, why don't you?
Bit of criminology. Because
a lot of them.
If Andy Burnham wanted a seat, he now has 2 more members of the Labour Party NEC who are favourable to him compared to 6 months ago. Because the new Labour deputy leader, Lucy Powell, is a close ally of Andy Burnham. Now, she gets a seat on the Labour NEC that gets to decide who are candidates and where. And also, I think it was Unison that just had their General Secretary election, and the left-wing candidate won, not the person favourable to the Labour Party or this current leadership of the Labour Party. So you've just had a swing of 2 votes on that crucial committee that could mean that actually it's more favourable to giving Andy Burnham a seat somewhere if he so wanted.
You'd have to give him the seat, though, because I suspect that if they had any sort of by-election or anything like that, then unfortunately Andy Burnham wouldn't get in, because I think it would be going to Reform or something like that. Don't they have to give him a seat?
Well, someone would have to withdraw.
He'd have to but would he not have to stand? He'd have to stand. People would have to then vote.
Well, the way it would work is someone would have to resign their seat. Then the reason why the NEC is pertinent here is they would have to select someone, and in a by-election, the NEC of the Labour Party, the National Executive Council, gets to sort of do the shortlist. So they could...
But you still have to have the by-election, so then
and then there would be the by-election.
Yes. And the public vote, I don't think the Labour government can be that confident that he'd actually win it. It probably would end up going to Reform, and that would be enough.
There aren't no such thing as a safe seat. Just like the Tories for the general election 2024, I remember a day or two before, we were going to supposedly, previously, super safe seats that Tories had a majority of 20,000. That then, you know, they realised they were in trouble, and then a day or two later they were Labour or they were Lib Dem.
I think they're stuffed. Catherine Foster, thank you very much. I don't think it matters who the leader is right there with that lot. But listen, stay with us. Still to come, we'll be discussing why hairdressers are following in pubs' footsteps and are now banning Labour MPs.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's fast approaching 28 minutes after 1 o'clock. Now, hairdressers are now banning Labour MPs from their salons of what they're calling a business rates betrayal.
Yes, it all comes after pub owners took a stand against the government after promised tax relief for small businesses fell far short.
Well, joining me now is hairdresser Craig Hubert, who's interesting. So, Craig, you've now decided to follow the same initiative as the pub landlords to ban Labour MPs. Talk to me about why and how their policies are affecting your trade.
Well, I think it's been a long period of bad policy, you know, last few years, obviously even prior, but this last year has just been, it's just one after the other of, you know, more, you know, sort of tax rises as far as, you know, national insurance and obviously the actual minimum wage going up, which is great. We don't want people to get more money, but if the actual business can't afford it, what happens basically is you get job losses. And that's what we're seeing obviously across the country now, especially in hairdressing and hospitality. So, and then obviously come to the budget, and I actually got quite excited on the day of the budget, thinking, right, okay, she's actually listened, and there's going to be some cuts on the business rates, because you can see now High Street is dying. And then as we find out that obviously then you've got the business actual revaluation of the property has gone up a load more. So it's, yeah, we're going to get a cut, but a cut on a larger amount that actually still equates to you know, a higher cost that we, you know, simply can't afford it.
Well, this is the extraordinary thing. At the budget, I mean, I listened to every word the Chancellor said, and she made it sound like businesses like yours would be having an easier time. We're going to cut the rate, she said. And I'm sure everyone hearing that was cheering. And it's only then later in the fine print, in the detail, oh, no, wait, we're going to reevaluate your business, and sure, you're going to pay a slightly lower rate, but on a massively... In some cases, the amount that is being paid will double. I've seen one case, one pub, where it's tripling. I mean, this is the most extraordinary amount of money that is being extracted from productive businesses in tax. You must be furious, Craig.
It's almost a case of... Sorry.
Showing quite how much energy you're putting into it.
Sometimes.
Sorry, go on, Craig, carry on, we can hear you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like one of those things where you must feel like they just think we're stupid. Like, you're going to give you this announcement, actually, that you are going to be so much better off because you've got business, you know, rates of relief, and they just say it's a small print. Always a small print. They come out and then you're sort of like thinking, right, back to square one again. And business owners, salon owners, hospitality owners, we are worn out from the last 5 years, you know, of constant hard work from the COVID time. Keeps fighting, and there are so many salon owners I know now. The resilience is there, but it's get to the stage where people think, you know what, it's no point anymore. We're working for nothing. It's hard to make a profit in any sort of salon at the moment anyway, in a traditional employed model. So, you know, what are we doing for? We do it because we are passionate about the industry. We're passionate about trying to bring young people on, you know, apprentices that are at the moment obviously being let go or not being hired. And it just seems the saddest thing ever, where as youngsters aren't going to have the opportunity that we had. But hopefully they will listen eventually, because they have to listen when there's so many job losses and the apprenticeships aren't there. So we'll see.
Do you think it's that they are incompetent, or do you think it's that they just don't really understand what the repercussions are? Why do you think they're making such, such foolish policies?
They have people, obviously they advise them, but I just think they are so blinkered to some sort of ideology, what they believe should be right. But with actually looking at the data, looking at the job losses, looking at people telling them, and they're just ploughing on anyway. I would have more respect if she just said, OK, we made a slight mistake here. Let's cut, national insurance. Let's do something, because we're in a doom loop. And if they don't change it soon, you can say by the end of 26, you're going to see so many jobs obviously gone, businesses closing down. And the problem is, even in society, if you haven't got hope, especially young people haven't got hope, then what do? There's this we've had a great period the last sort of 40, 50 years where opportunities have been there and people got hope and they drive and they work hard because they know there's a benefit at the end. If you can't see a benefit, then why are you going to bother?
Well, listen, on the upside, they'll all have very bad hair. Craig Hubert...
They will indeed.
They all have bad hair. Craig Hubert, thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Very happy New Year.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye. We need more people like Craig in politics, because they're people who have hired people, who have run businesses. Not a single cabinet minister has ever started a business, run a business, hired people, worried about how to sort of make all those paychecks at the end of the month. I mean, I'm not so surprised that we get terrible policy with regard to business when there's no one who's actually run a business who's at the very upper echelons of government.
Well, I think we need to have a reality show called Business, and to get some politicians in it, they'd have to take part, and we'll give them hardly any money, let them run a business on their own policies and see how they manage, which I'm sure will be somewhat interesting.
Well, we should say that in response to this story, a Labour source has said this.
The government is backing high street businesses across the country, including hairdressers and salons. That is why the Chancellor announced a support package worth £4.3 billion in the budget last month.
Well, still to come, Shamima Begum, remember her? She could return to Britain as ECHR judges lay down formal challenge to the Home Office. We'll get the thoughts of the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick.
Yes, all of that and much more after your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime. A nurse injured in yesterday's hospital attack in Merseyside says she was nearly beaten to death and is lucky to be alive. 28-year-old Meg Lynch was struck with a metal bar at Newton Community Hospital. Police say a 20-year-old Afghan man has been detained under the Mental Health Act. All 6 victims are now in a stable condition. Repair work continues after chaos in the Channel Tunnel left tens of thousands stranded. Eurostar says all services are planned today, but warns of delays and last-minute cancellations. The shuttle says queues are now down to around half an hour, but passengers are still being urged to check before travelling. More than 500 new ambulances are being rolled out across England in what the NHS calls its biggest fleet upgrade in years. The £75 million investment includes upgraded navigation and safety systems. The Health Secretary Wes Streeting says it will speed up response times and improve patient care. The Queen has paid tribute to racing commentator John Hunt and his daughter Amy, whose family were murdered in a domestic attack last year. Speaking to Radio 4, Queen Camilla said their loved ones would be so proud, also revealing she was attacked on a train as a teenager. She says it shaped her views on domestic abuse. And in Australia, Sydney has welcomed the new year in with a spectacular fireworks display. Here, though, forecasters say wrap up if you're heading out tonight. The Met Office says New Year's Eve will be cold but mostly dry for fireworks. And as 2026 begins, snow, ice and gales are expected in the north, raising some concerns for vulnerable people. Those are the lunchtime headlines. I'll be back with you at 2.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. As we go through the rest of this New Year's Eve, well, it's going to be fine but cold for many of us. However, we do have some showers pushing into the north, and here we're going to see the winds strengthening as well. It's because the high pressure that's been around through recent days, that is retreating a little bit further towards the northwest. So that will allow for the winds to strengthen in the north and those showers to feed in as well. Initially, they're going to be falling as rain, but we are going to see a bit of snow arriving later on. Like I said, towards the south, however, it's staying largely fine, albeit a few mist and fog patches could linger into the afternoon. It is a chilly day, despite the fact that there'll be plenty of sunshine around. Temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year and feeling even colder with those strong winds towards the north. Now, as we head through this evening and towards midnight, an early frost across some southern parts and some mist and fog could again develop quite quickly through the start of the night. But as we head towards midnight itself, it's a tale of two halves, really. Windy, a gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour around Orkney, Shetland and the far north of Scotland, and plenty of showers across much of Scotland. Some of those showers feeding into Northern Ireland and Northern England too. Drier further south across central southern parts of England and Wales. A largely fine start to New Year's Day, albeit we are going to see a bit more cloud sinking its way southwards, and as a result, that's going to lift the temperatures a little bit after a cold, frosty start to the night towards the far south. By the time that we get to, well, around dawn, we're looking at temperatures being a few degrees above freezing for many. More snow showers piling in across parts of Scotland as we go through New Year's Day. Also a swathe of something a little bit wet and perhaps a bit wintry pushing its way across parts of Northern Ireland into England and Wales as well as we go through Thursday. Otherwise, it is going to be a cold feeling day, especially when you factor in the brisk winds.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A83, emergency roadworks mean restrictions both ways at Locknell Street in Loch Gilphead. On the M25 clockwise in Surrey, a broken down vehicle closes one lane of 4 between Junction 5 and Junction 6, improving after 142. In the West Midlands, the A5 northbound is closed after a collision between the A452 and the A34, normal after 206. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton or Rugby, while Cross Country reports engineering work around Cambridge and disruption between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 20 to 2, and the ISIS bride, Shamima Begum, has had her bid returned to the UK. She's had that given a new lease of life after ECHR judges ordered the Home Office to justify stripping her of her British citizenship.
Oh, dear. I mean, the lawyers for Shamima Begum, who left East London, Shamima, not the lawyers, to join Islamic State when she was just 15, have called this an unprecedented opportunity.
Well, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, joins us now. Robert, thanks for your time this afternoon. Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year to you too.
This is, of course, a story that has been going on and on for years. British courts said Sajid Javid was absolutely right in stripping her of her citizenship, but now it's going up to the ECHR.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Under no circumstances should Shamima Begum ever step foot on British soil again. She chose to associate herself with ISIS terrorists, essentially to betray her own country. That was a catastrophic misjudgment, and she ultimately has to be accountable and responsible for that. But the most important thing here is that it should be up to our own ministers and our own courts to decide national security in this country. And a decade ago, Sajid Javid, the then Home Secretary, made this decision. It was then hauled before court after court after court, ultimately going to the Supreme Court here, and judges said that Sajid got it right and that he had the ability under our own laws to make this decision, to make a big call about the national security of our own citizens. And now we suddenly hear that foreign judges over in Strasbourg think that they know best, and they're beginning to meddle in this and potentially overturn not just the decision of our own Home Secretary, but our own Supreme Court. And it reinforces once again the need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Because what is more important than the ability of our own parliament, our own ministers and our own courts to decide national security, who should and shouldn't be in our country?
Well, they're arguing that the UK failed to consider key legal and human rights questions before revoking our citizenship. So they're arguing that we've misstepped, and if we have, then, and that is seen to be the case, then what power do we have to go against?
Well, that is complete and utter nonsense. There is almost no case in recent times that has been subject to so much litigation. This has gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the decision of the Home Secretary at the time, and all the subsequent Home Secretaries who've come afterwards who have chosen to stick with the original decision and to prevent Shamima Begum coming back to the UK by upholding that her citizenship has been revoked. It's not for this foreign court to suddenly decide a decade later that there's some human rights or procedural grounds by which the decision should be overturned. Would it surprise me, though, that this does happen? Not at all, when you've got Keir Starmer as Prime Minister and Richard Hermer as Attorney General, because remember, who did Richard Hermer represent before he became Attorney General? Well, none other than Shamima Begum. So the timing seems very coincidental to me that Strasbourg have decided to step in and send a big signal to Shamima Begum and her lawyers that they should appeal this, they should go to Strasbourg, and they may get a favourable hearing from them, because they know now that not only have they got a Prime Minister and Attorney General who are sympathetic to the case, an Attorney General who actually represented Shamima Begum, but you've also got a Prime Minister and an Attorney General who have publicly said they would never go against a judgment of the Strasbourg Court, even if it was totally contrary to British interests. And I find that completely astonishing. Remember, David Cameron ignored a judgment of the Strasbourg Court when they said that we should give all prisoners the vote. It's not uncommon for prime ministers to do that, and other European countries, frankly, do it all the time, far more frequently than we do. But now you've got this Labour government headed by people who believe that there should be rule by lawyers, and they are going to stick by whatever Strasbourg says. So it may well be that Shamima Begum, under this Labour government, is ultimately heading back to our shores.
Robert, throughout this conversation, we've kept saying something that I find linguistically peculiar. And that is that the Supreme Court, our supreme adjudicating body, might be overruled. Now, I don't have an English degree. I've got an English A-level. But last time I checked, supreme meant supreme. You can't take the US Supreme Court to court. You can't override a US Supreme Court decision. Why is it that our Supreme Court is not actually supreme? I mean, I'm beginning to think perhaps I need to take a case under the Trade Description Act out against this government, because our Supreme Court is not supreme at all. There's a higher court that sits above it.
Yeah, look, that's the absolute nub of the argument here. I believe, that Parliament should be sovereign. So the public elect members of Parliament, there are ministers who are held to account by Parliament, and then there are courts which don't make the law, but they ensure that it's properly enforced. And they are courts in our own country, judges from this country. And yet, because of an outdated treaty, the European Convention on Human Rights, signed up to a long time ago by our forefathers and twisted and contorted out of all its original intent more recently, we're suddenly finding foreign judges from countries with quite different systems to our own and different standards, meddling in our own affairs, making laws that no one signed up to in the UK, and telling our own ministers and, as you say, our own Supreme Court what they can and can't do. That's fundamentally undemocratic. And that's why I've argued, as many have in politics, in fact, it's almost becoming a majority view in the country now, and it should be, that we've got to leave the European Convention on Human Rights and restore power ultimately to our own Parliament so we can make these decisions ourselves. And this case strikes me as one which tells the story better than almost any other, because you've got somebody who a British Home Secretary and all his successors rather, have agreed is a threat to national security, and our own court, right the way up to the Supreme Court, have decided that he was right to revoke the citizenship, and yet you've got a foreign court meddling in our affairs years and years later. Look, frankly, if other European countries want Shamima Begum, then they can grant her citizenship and she can go and live in Belgium or Luxembourg or go and live in Strasbourg. But most people in this country, rightly, do not want somebody who is associated with ISIS to come here and live amongst us.
All right, Robert Jenrick, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. That is Robert Jenrick. He's a Shadow Justice Secretary. And obviously, Lord Herman's not here to defend himself. So there you have that.
But before we let you go, Robert, what would you say to Lord Herman, for instance, saying that it's, and I hear this argument a lot, that it's not a foreign court, that there are some British judges, despite the fact it's in Strasbourg, it's not a foreign court at all. There are some judges that sit on it that are British. Winston Churchill was a founding father of this court. What do you say to that criticism, that actually you're misrepresenting the ideals of the ECHR?
Well, I don't have any objection to the original ideals. Look, this was a noble document. It was drafted in part by British jurists, signed up to by Winston Churchill in the aftermath of the Second World War, where we wanted to ensure that other countries in Europe lived up to the same standards of freedom and liberty that we had enjoyed for generations in our own country. But then, years later, they decided to have a court that would be staffed with judges from throughout the member states. And then even later on, they came up with this idea that it was a living instrument and that they didn't have to pay heed to what was originally signed up to at all, and that these judges could essentially begin to make laws. And we've seen that happen on immigration matters, security matters, and things that no one could ever have imagined back in the day. Like recently, there was a case whereby the court overturned a democratic referendum in Switzerland on net zero policy. That doesn't make any sense. It's completely undemocratic. Winston Churchill would be turning in his grave if he could see the court today. Let's end this farce and restore to our own parliament and our own people the decision about how we make our laws. And that is what I want to see, is what the Conservative Party signed up to, and I hope that a future government will be able to do just that.
All right, Robert Jenrick, thank you.
indeed.
Happy New Year, Robert. You
too, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Keir Starmer may well throw Shamima Begum under the bus, who knows? But listen, the Home Office spokesperson said...
The government will always protect the UK and its citizens. That's why Shamima Begum, who posed a national security threat, had her British citizenship revoked and is unable to return to the UK. We will robustly defend any decision made to protect our national security.
All right, stay with us. Still to come, we'll be speaking with a GBNews viewer about their hopes for the coming year.
Absolutely, but if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, well, here's the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, are you heading away for the new year? Well, there is some unsettled weather, some cold weather across Europe, in fact. Storm Francis is bringing some very wet weather to the Canaries through New Year's Day and into the weekend, as well as parts of Spain and Portugal. Comparatively drier for more central areas, though it is colder than it usually is at this time of year. The good news is, though, as it turns colder for the UK, it will slowly start to warm up into next week in the east. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
You that every one of those tickets will be sold. Guaranteed.
I guess they
because
will.
They'll be corporate ticket, you know, that's the thing. So it'll be corporate organisations that buy the tickets en masse. Is that the ticket price from FIFA for the game, or is that the up ticket?
That's the legit price.
Yes,
that's before the scalping happens. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The cheapest tickets for the final in the USA now cost more than £3,000.
But then if you look at Wimbledon, how much Wimbledon is for a final, it's just absolutely extreme. And, you know, so you are completely knocking out the mainstream fan, and just you've got the elite.
I mean, it's a bit of a contrast to Qatar, where the prices weren't that high. Obviously, a bit tricky to, you know, not cheap to get there, but not cheap to get to the States either. But obviously, for Qatar, it was about putting itself on the world sporting map and using its diplomacy, whereas in the States, it's about making the dollar.
Well, I can also just say that they've got the Pride match is going to be played at the World Cup. It's in Seattle, and it's against it's Iran versus Egypt.
Both of whom have asked for it not to be the Pride match.
Both of whom have asked not to be. But the only other game in that group that they could use as the Pride match is the USA versus Australia, and they can't because that's also their dedicated anti-slavery match. Yeah, so it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Are any of them themed around
How they swap them round?
well, still that doesn't work, does it? Because of the other two nations.
Yeah, I think that's worse.
Like Iran, I don't know, they're still a bit slavey, aren't they?
Can't they just put football?
Modern slavery is an issue across the world.
Yeah. But I just I don't know, it just cracks me up. Like, why? So we've got. Why are we doing any of this?
It should just be...
But also then stop, if you care so much about these issues, stop giving World Cups. Like in 2036, it's in Saudi Arabia, which does have modern slavery and kills gay people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon. Britain is just coming up to 6 minutes to 2 o'clock. But GB News is nothing without you. And we'd love to know what your hopes are for 2026. So go to gbnews.com/your say and join the conversation.
But now let's speak to one of our viewers, John Reed from Kidderminster. John, good to see you.
Hello,
Happy
John.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
What are you expecting 2026 to bring you?
Well, it's good to see you, Tom, for the first time. But Nana, once again, here we go. So, but nice to see you both on the TV this afternoon, and looking forward to this evening. GB News going through to midnight, I know, until 1 o'clock, so we're in for a late night, aren't we? That's what it comes down to. Yeah. What would I like to see next year? I can tell you in a simple sentence. I'd like to see the criminal justice system get its brain in gear and sort itself out once and for all. For many, many, many years, it's been a mess. This government is no better than any other, or no worse either, really. But I've got lots of friends and people I keep in touch with in the criminal justice system, and I'd like to see it become more of a rehabilitation tool than simply a warehouse for keeping naughty people in. So that's what I wish. The second wish, secondary to that, but part of it, is loneliness. I wish less and less people suffered loneliness, and if I can do anything at all to help get rid of it, I would. And part of it is watching you two, isn't it? Because you're working today and I'm not.
Well, listen, John, because part of your background, you worked around prisons and things, didn't you?
Yeah, for many years. And this last 2 years, the funding for companies like mine, community interest companies, has dried up pretty much. So what I was doing was taking poetry into prison as a way, as a lever really, to help their mental health and to eradicate loneliness, because it's an awfully terrible place to want to live, and not many people do. And it works really well. And the cost of my time in prison is very much less than that of a prison officer. So if you think that most prisons are understaffed, you would think that somebody with a brain would say, well, why don't we take some of that money that we're not spending on staff and get people like John, and there are many people like me, I'm not just me, not just an advert, get us in to help overcome the problem. Because when I've got 12 men in a room and we're talking poetry and generally cheering them up, it means that they're not on the wing behaving badly and the officers are therefore at risk. So there's a solution here if only somebody would grab it.
John, I've got to ask you, do you have a favourite poet, favourite poem? I'm a big fan of Kipling. I know far too many Kipling poems by heart. But John, what was your favourite?
I write poetry myself, and I call it street poetry because it's not Kipling, Tom, that's for sure. And I'm frantically trying to think of the lady poet that has been doing it on stage for years and years, and I can't think of her name. Perhaps you can. That has been around since she won a competition with Huey Green in the 1960s.
Wow.
And she does poetry similar to mine. It just
brilliant!
What
John,
should we write about? Something funny.
I'll have to get you on, John, on my show in the afternoon. You'd have to on Saturday. You need to tell me some of that. But listen, John, Happy New Year!
Absolutely.
And as he just mentioned, you can join us tonight for our News East special coverage with Bear Turner, Ben Leo, Alex Armstrong, Miriam Cates, and Darren Grimes to bring in the new year with you.
Absolutely, but still ahead, the Queen has spoken out about her experience of being groped as a teenager. We'll have that for you and more after your very latest weather forecast.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 31st of December. Happy New Year in just, what is it now? 10 hours' time?
10 hours.
I'm Tom Holt.
I'm Nana Akua. Now, is the ISIS bride Shamima Begum coming back to the UK?
I am asking the British people to forgive me because I made a mistake at a very young age.
So Shamima Begum could return to Britain as EU judges or European judges lay down formal challenges to the Home Office.
We may well be the last chance this country has to actually restore some proper values Those of family, community, country, the ones upon which I based this party when I founded it in the very beginning.
Yes, the Reform Party leader Nigel Farage has released his New Year's message, saying his party is the only one offering hope and change ahead of the 2026 local elections. Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, delivered his Lib Dem message too.
Protecting our environment, fixing the NHS and social care, these are our battles. As well as standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, taking the fight to Nigel Farage and winning. And we can win again in 2026.
Thousands of people who were expecting to travel on the Eurostar yesterday are furious this morning, waking up in cities where they did not expect to be.
And behind the New Year celebrations, pubs face a 32,000 business rake hit as punters are warned that the price of their next pint could be set to surge.
New Zealand is the first country to ring in 2026 with a spectacular fireworks display, and in the last hour, Australia did the same.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, Sydney!
Happy New Year, Sydney! Wow! That was us doing the little countdown, wasn't it?
Certainly was, and spectacular you did too. Marvellous.
Yes, they did. That was lovely, that. But, of course, we're going to have our New Year's Eve party here on GBNews as well. 10 o'clock through till 1 a.m. Miriam will be doing it as well, alongside Bev Turner and Ben Leo, and also Alexander Armstrong and Darren Grimes.
He's back.
He's back. He's coming back and going to join us for that one. So that will be fun.
Well, no, totally. But I find it always extraordinary how... this is going to sound so silly, but it does feel funny that part of the world is already in 2026.
Back to the future.
Well, we're stuck here in 2025. Have you ever been tempted? I mean, there must be a lot of people tempted who are sitting in Sydney right now. They've just celebrated New Year. They've been doing it for an hour. If they go off to the airport and fly to Hawaii or to California, they could just wait 20 hours and do it all over again.
Depends how long the flight is.
I think the flight from Australia, from the east coast of Australia to the west coast of America is about 10 or 11 hours. And there's a 20-hour time difference. So it's perfectly possible to celebrate in a pretty good way two New Years.
Beating the Earth. I'm going to go against the globe. I can do it. I can do it.
The trick is to go across the international date line. You're never going to beat the Earth by going round that way, but by going round the cheating, hopping across from one side of the line to the other, you gain a day.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's good. Well, listen, talk to us about your New Year's celebration. Hopefully you're watching it here on GB News, but also you probably have friends and family. We'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts. You can scan the QR code on your screens right now to send us that. But right now, your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Tom, Nana, thank you, and good afternoon to you. Just coming up to, in fact, just gone 4 minutes past 2. A nurse injured in yesterday's attack at a Merseyside hospital has said she was nearly beaten to death and is lucky to be alive. 28-year-old Meg Lynch says she was struck from behind with a metal bar at Newton Community Hospital. She suffered head injuries that required CT scans and stitches. Police say a 20-year-old Afghan man was arrested at the scene after being refused an appointment and has been since detained under the Mental Health Act. Merseyside police say 6 people were injured but are now in a stable condition, with high-visibility patrols continuing while their inquiries and forensic work remain ongoing. Sydney has welcomed the new year with a spectacular fireworks display, held, though, under heightened security just weeks after the deadly attack at a Jewish event in the city. A minute's silence was also observed before midnight, with the Harbour Bridge lit in white in tribute to the victims before the fireworks. Back here, the Met Office says New Year's Eve will be cold but mostly dry for fireworks, though Scotland could see strong winds and hail. As 2026 begins, forecasters are warning snow, ice and gales for northern parts of the UK, raising concerns for vulnerable people. Eurostar services through the Channel Tunnel have returned to normal after major disruption ahead of New Year's Eve. Thousands of passengers were delayed on Tuesday after an overhead power fault, and a broken-down Le Shuttle train blocked routes between UK and France. Most services from London St Pancras International are now running, though Eurostar is warning of possible knock-on delays and last-minute cancellations. Passengers affected by the disruption are being offered enhanced compensation. More than 500 new ambulances are being rolled out across England in what the NHS says is its biggest fleet upgrade in years. The £75 million investment includes modern navigation systems and enhanced safety equipment to help crews work faster and more safely. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the vehicles will improve patient comfort and help ambulances turn around more quickly.
£75 million this year, over £400 million over the next 4 years to make sure we've got a modern, effective fleet that provides safety for patients, efficiency and comfort for the crew.
The Queen has paid tribute to racing commentator John Hunt and his daughter Amy, whose family were murdered in a domestic attack last year. Speaking on Radio 4's Today programme, Queen Camilla said their loved ones would be so proud of them. She also revealed she was attacked on a train as a teenager, saying the experience left her angry for years and shaped how strongly she feels about domestic abuse. A Cardiff startup is one step closer to making materials in space, with a factory the size of a microwave now orbiting the Earth. Spaceforge is testing a mini manufacturing lab designed to produce ultra-pure semiconductors in zero gravity. Engineers say they've successfully fired up a furnace inside a satellite reaching 1,000 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to make high-grade electronic components. The company believes that space could deliver cleaner, more powerful chips. And Britain is listening more than ever, with more than 210 million albums bought or streamed in the UK in the last year alone. Figures show consumption is up nearly 5%, driven by streaming, by vinyl and a British music revival. The biggest album of the year was, of course, Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl, while UK stars, including Olivia Dean and Lola Young, broke records at home and abroad. And vinyl's comeback continues, with sales rising now for the 18th year in a row, proving physical music is far from dead. Those are the 2 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2. Now, at the end of the last hour, we of course had our viewer John on. John, if you're still watching, excellent stuff. The poet that we failed to remember, but the comments at gbnews.com/YourSay have just been an absolute deluge of exactly who we should have remembered. Pam Ayres.
Pam Ayres.
Pam Ayres was that poet, and Patricia has written in with quite a funny story, saying, "I love Pam, but she grates on my brother. So every Christmas, I bought him something of hers. Every Christmas. But now he's admitting he likes her poems." So there's I thought it would be remiss to not read out the hundreds of messages that we've had saying, Pam Ayres, Pam Ayres, Pam Ayres. Well, there we go.
Lovely, isn't it? Oh, that's lovely. It's so nice to speak to John as well. He's one of our GB voices, so it's lovely to get the viewers on and their thoughts as well.
Absolutely. And a remarkable job that he's done in the prisons as well.
Yeah, going in and doing...
Really admirable.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful thing. He talked to me about that before as well. We'll have to, if he does a charity, maybe we can help him in some way.
But the time is 9 minutes past 2, and Nigel Farage has used his New Year's message to go on the attack on this government and the previous government's handling of the British-Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah returning to Britain.
The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, now find this shocking that they didn't do the review before they allowed this person, said that this person can come back. She has now ordered a review of the serious information failures concerning the case, although you and I could have found out about him just by doing a bit on Google.
Well, shall we take a listen to what Nigel Farage had to say?
And if we go on voting for the same old parties, I promise you, nothing will change. Think, just in the last few days, of the El Fatah case. Here's a guy that's come out of Egypt, come back to Britain, who's put out just the most abominable, hateful tweets about killing Jews, killing white people, fighting the police. And this man was given citizenship by the Conservative Party and welcomed back into Britain by the Labour Party. Frankly, there is little to choose between the two. We're the people offering hope. We're the people offering change. And 2025 showed you, with those county elections, which we won comfortably, what we are capable of. As we look forward to 2026, we have a massive set of elections. The whole of Scotland, the whole of Wales, all 32 London boroughs, county elections, thousands of council seats all over the country. And yet what are we now seeing? We're seeing a Labour government saying to those councils, if you want to cancel the elections, in some cases for the second year in a row, you can do so.
Yeah, I think the cancelling of elections really is a shocking display of fear, frankly. If you weren't afraid to just get on with it, but somehow they've timed some reform within the council to be done at the time when the elections... I mean, come on, we don't buy that. But the Lib Dem leader, Ed Davies, has also released his New Year's message. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Protecting our environment, fixing the NHS and social care, these are our battles. As well as standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, taking the fight to Nigel Farage and winning. And we can win again in 2026 in Scotland, Wales and across England to stop Trump's America becoming Farage's Britain and change our country for the better. So from all of us at the Liberal Democrats, I hope you have a happy and hopeful new year. Let's make it a good one.
Kind of expected to hear a sort of toilet flush, and then he slides down the River Thames because he's done so much of that.
It's fitting he did it in front of a big body of water, to be fair. I mean, yeah, surprising there's no slide or...
There's some sort of... Or he rides off in a jet ski. I was on a jet ski all along.
That would be an impressive New Year message. Well, I hope you're taking notes, Sir Ed.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him, though. That's the worst bit about this. I mean, this is a joke, but he could possibly... I'm surprised that didn't happen.
Well, maybe he should... I think I'd respect him for it, to be honest. But of course, with this new year comes with local elections, or if you're in Scotland or indeed Wales, national elections. Because of course, the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Senedd, as well as all London boroughs and thousands of council seats up and down England as well. I mean, it is just the most gargantuan set of elections in May.
So, and let's speak to assistant editor of the Daily Sceptic, Laurie Wastel, who joins us now. So, Laurie, what do you make of these messages? Should we start with Nigel Farage's one first? What did you make of that?
Well, I think before we get into even any of the content of the two messages, in many ways it's chalk and cheese in terms of the production and the spectacle here. I mean, it's good of you, GB News, to even be showing the Lib Dems message, because actually they seem to be phoning it in, rather. It cannot be found on either the Lib Dems Twitter right now or Ed Davies' Twitter. I really had to go through the hoops to find it myself to prepare for this, but it seems like they're not even particularly proud of the message itself, and in many ways, no wonder. It's only a minute long. It looks like he's just headed over from Parliament to film it, of an afternoon. Whereas Nigel Farage's one, that in that historic environment of the Greenwich Park with the city behind him and the Royal Maritime Observatory, with several different cameras filming him, a 5-minute message compared with Ed Davies' just 1 minute, really just sort of ringing through a few achievements they've had that year. But it sounds like, the Reform are really serious about this. They really want to put various different positive messages out there about what they're going to be pitching to voters this year, how excited they are for the various elections, as you've spoken about. Whereas, frankly, I mean, it seems a little bit like the Lib Dems are phoning it in here.
Does that speak to perhaps a different strategy for these two parties? Nigel Farage has always played the air war, has always wanted to get a big message out to the whole country. And Reform is going to be fighting on all fronts, right up and down, north, south, east, west, across the United Kingdom they'll be fighting. The Lib Dems tend to do this hyper-local strategy. Not so much the big message from the leader in the centre, but more, we're going to take out your bins and we work for you here locally. Lib Dems winning here is their slogan very often. Does this speak to perhaps two different approaches to the local elections?
I suppose it might, Tom. And I think what you have to consider there is that central Lib Dem message, don't let Trump's America become Farage's Britain.
Yes.
It's really quite negative, isn't it? It's not sort of laying out a broad vision for the country. I mean, Farage's his address there, it began, there's much to it, but it began with more of a state of the nation, you know, talking about inflation, talking about various things that have happened in the year. Very little of that from Ed Davey in his just 1 minute address, but he's really looking to stamp a mark on what he thinks the country should be going for. He talks about energy policy and the fact that we can't get ahead in the city, of course, that being behind him with technologies like AI and crypto, because we have such high energy costs, you know, linking all these different issues in, and of course, linking to that issue that's been in the headlines this past week of Alaa El-Fattah. So touching on all these kinds of things, whereas the Lib Dems kind of repeating that message of, we are just here to keep out this one party that you might think are a little bit distasteful. So yes, much more of a narrow pitch there, I would say.
All right, well, really good to talk to you. Thank you. That's Laurie Wastel, assistant editor of the Daily Skeptic. Yeah, I'm with him on the Trump's America, and then Elon Musk. It's like, huh? What? Why are you talking about that?
It's a local elections. I mean, most people voting will be thinking, how often are my bins collected?
Exactly.
At least in England, and this is the big pitch, Trump. I mean, it doesn't quite add up. But I have to say, Greenwich is just the most magical place.
I know. I used to live around there.
Oh, I recently visited the Painted Hall there, which is where Nelson lay in state before his funeral. The history there is just majestic. Sort of painted representations of the scientific revolution, of the glorious revolution, all of this stuff. It's a place that is imbued with history, grandeur, splendour. It's all that Britain was and can be.
Do you know, I wrote my first ever, because years ago I presented the Holiday Show on BBC One, and in order to get the gig I had to make up a little place that I would do a holiday show at. So I chose Greenwich, because I lived in Greenwich, and I did 4 different locations, starting at the pub, then the Pie and Mash shop, then the Cutty Sark, and then I ended on the Maritime Museum and the line of the sort of Greenwich...
The Meridian.
The Meridian, yes, and I remember doing my last piece and going, finishing, and everyone went, oh, and I got the job.
Oh, amazing.
I got the job. But listen...
it's the magic and splendour of Greenwich.
Forget about me. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the ISIS bride, Shamima Begum. Now, she's had her bid to return to the UK given a new lease of life after European judges ordered the Home Office to justify stripping her of her British citizenship.
Well, our very own chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, joins us now. Catherine, this is a bit of a fly in the ointment.
It really is. If the government didn't have enough problems already with their poll rating on the floor, only 12% approving of the government's performance at the moment. So Shamima Begum exhausted every avenue to try to get back in the British courts. It went right up to the Supreme Court. Nana, you asked me a couple of hours ago who has been paying. Well, up until early 2024, the British taxpayer has been paying for her legal aid to the tune of $250,000. That's by early last year, before it went all the way to the Supreme Court. So clearly more than that since. So even though she's no longer a British citizen, British taxpayers have been on the hook for paying her bills. But yes, so every British court has said no, and so now, lo and behold, her lawyers have spied what they call an unprecedented opportunity, which is to go to the ECHR, who are now formally asking the Home Office to justify they're stripping her citizenship and also their behaviour, because her lawyers are alleging that the government may have breached her human rights and also broken anti-trafficking laws. So they are saying that basically because she was a 15-year-old, she was lured, she was exploited, she was groomed, and that also she was at high risk because a friend had already gone and more should have been done to protect her. So the Home Office are saying that they will robustly defend any decision not to protect our national security, and that is the grounds on which her citizenship was taken away. The Home Secretary at the time, Sajid Javid, said she's a risk to our security and therefore she can't come back. The government at the moment are taking the same line. Let's see if that holds. I mean, Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, talks pretty tough. Let's see if the reality matches. But, you know, you had the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, on, and he has said that under no circumstances should she be coming back to Britain, and that no foreign court should be telling us who we can and can't have. Worth saying that Nigel Farage saying pretty much exactly the same.
Well, Forster, thank you very much indeed.
Right, well, joining us now is filmmaker and journalist who met and spent time with Shamima Begum in Syria, Andrew Drury. Andrew, now we've spoken at length about this particular woman and, you know, what she is like. Talk to us about what you found out, because you went to the camp in Syria where she was. You actually spoke to her, interviewed her. What was she like, and what did you take away from having met her?
Which Shamima are we talking about? The first one, the second, the third, or the fifth? Because
we'll talk about the first one and then the next one. You know, I know our viewers and listeners would like to hear all of it.
Well, the first time I met her, she was like this kind of waif sort of character. She was cowering in a corner, apologetic for what she had done. She actually really apologised for carrying out what she'd done. She knew why the British people hated her. She understood what we all felt. And I actually felt sorry for her. I thought she had been trafficked, she'd been treated badly here, and we should bring her home. But then the change happened during a period of time. She started reading her press coverage. She changed into this character that was actually felt that we did her wrong. We didn't protect her, we didn't look after her, and she was a victim of circumstances. So over a period of about 2.5 years, she changed. So my view on, and actually I've only just started stopping hearing from her in the last sort of 3 months. I've had messages back from the camp. Nana, you know my view on her. So, and she knows my view, because this interview now that we're having now, she will see, she will read about this and hear this, but she's still contacting me. I can't tell you the nature of the messages, but you'd be shocked about them. And I will tell you, Nana, personally at some stage, what these messages say. And I think we're in a bad position in the camp anyway, because the Syrians, it doesn't matter about what the European Court of Human Rights say, because she could be coming free any time now anyway, because the new regime over there are forcing the Kurds, and that prison is so precarious, because the Kurds will say they're going to release all the prisoners. They're just going to let them go anyway. So maybe I might change my mind and we might need to imprison her. We might really need to do that, because she could be set free within the next 2 to 3 months.
Wow. So that, from what you're saying there, Andrew, you think that she is a dangerous person, that what she's seen, experienced and left Britain to go and be a part of is a dangerous evil?
Well, none of us really know what she did. I've been told by Kurds what they think she did. She was part of a thing called the Hizbah. The Hizbah is a morality police. And also so in the suicide vests. I questioned her on this, I asked that. She denied it, but of course she would. But remember what Sajid Javid said? He said, if you knew what I knew, nobody would let her back into this country. So what did he know? I think we all need to know, don't we? Why can't he open up and tell us? And then we stop this stupid question, should she come back or shouldn't she come back? Let us know what she did. I know what I think she did, but let's all know. And also, to the point is, the control of what we have and who comes back in this country, we never know anyway, because 2 prisoners that I met and I interviewed in that prison came back last year without us, none of us knowing. They're, God knows where they are. Could be walking the streets, could be in prison, but they were released. One of them was known as the Terror Twin. She's back here now. She's been released. She's not in the prison anymore. We don't know if she's in Holland or in Great Britain or wherever.
Do you think, in your mind, having met her, that she should be coming back to the UK?
I don't think she'd be any trouble to us back here because of who she is. But what she stood for is the issue. She left this country to join a death cult. That's what she did. And I also feel the real victims are in Syria. They're the real victims. I mean, I met them in camps outside Raqqa during filming, which was not long after ISIS had been pushed out. Think of the terror of these people. What about their human rights? We talk about Shamima's human rights, but what about the Syrians' human rights? We forget about them like they don't exist, they're not people. But that's where she committed her crimes. Remember that she only left this country and joined. That's the crime she's committed against this country. I'd have her in trial in Syria. Let's see what she really did. Let's have the evidence. Before we answer these questions anymore about whether she should come back or not, let's see what she actually did.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your experience here. It's so valuable, so interesting to hear. Andrew Drury, journalist, thanks indeed for joining us.
All right, Happy New Year, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
Well, the Home Office spokesperson said...
The UK government will always protect the UK and its citizens. That's why Shamima Begum, who posed a national security threat, had her British citizenship revoked and is unable to return to the UK. We will robustly defend any decision made to protect our national security.
Well, up next, Queen Camilla says that she is so angry, she was angry, after a sexual assault on a train when she was a teenager, while she was speaking on the BBC Today.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Happy New Year. It's 28 minutes past 2. Now, the Queen, Camilla, has spoken about a sexual assault that happened against her when she was just a teenager. She did it during a discussion on violence against women on the Today programme on Radio 4. Let's take a listen.
When I was a teenager, I was attacked on a train. I'd sort of forgotten about it, but I remember at the time being so angry. Somebody I didn't know, I was reading my book and, this, man attacked me, and I did fight back, and I got off. I remember getting off the train and my mother looking at me and saying, why is your hair standing on end, and why is button missing from your coat? And
so it was physical.
I've been attacked, but I remember anger, and I was so furious about it, and it sort of lurked for many years. And I think, when all the subject about domestic abuse came up, and suddenly you hear a story like John and Amy's, it all, it's something that I feel very strongly about.
Well, joining us now is the editor-at-large for the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Yeah, it's quite sort of, in a way, the royal family, they've started to talk about real things now.
Yeah.
And they've started to become more sort of like us, rather than them and us. They've become more human, as it were.
Totally, and I think Camilla is a fantastic weapon for the royal family because she is kind of like us. I mean, what we all know about Camilla is that she likes a gin and tonic and a fag, and people love that about her. She is an example of somebody who obviously grew up with quite a lot of privilege, but away from the royal family. She wasn't born into the royal family. She had a whole life before the royal family, and people love that about her. And she's of course, this story we know about from earlier this year, but we didn't know specifically why she was so keen to campaign for women's rights, sexual violence, but we guessed. And now what she's done in this latest interview is she's made it clear this is part of the motivation. What I also love about this interview was that she sort of said how she was angry and she fought back. So we now know, I think what we've always known about Camilla is that she's fight, not flight.
Yes.
And we know that she was a huntswoman. She used to, before she met Charles, she used to gallop across fields, have these jolly kind of social occasions where she'd have a gin and tonic and a fag. And she is just kind of one of us, even though it's hunting and it's incredibly privileged. And I like to think that a lot of us, if we were in that situation in the train, we'd go for the odd fight. I don't know if I would necessarily, but it was really nice that she explained that, even though it's obviously such a sad and tragic circumstance, and she was interviewing John Hurt as well.
It sort of seems so real. It drags it all back to that experience. I mean, a lot of the royal family, when they get on a train, they've got an entire carriage or indeed an entire train to themselves. But Camilla there, talking about how she returned to her mother and had her hair messed up.
Yeah.
And a button was missing on her coat. I mean, that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's more detail than we'd heard before. That sort of expresses the seriousness of the assault that she suffered.
Yeah, definitely. It's much more detail. And you're right about that button anecdote really hit home to me, that obviously it got so severe that she'd had to sort of rip herself away from him, and her hair, being all messed up. It's far more detail than we knew before, and what we knew before was that she'd taken off her shoe and hit him. And I suppose I always assumed she'd kind of did that to get away from him and then did a runner, but I didn't realise until today that it was an exchange in which he'd actually managed to get hold of her, presumably. So it's an amazing amount of detail, and I just think it's quite shocking for a royal family to be that explicit, and it's really powerful that she has, and it's a really good thing.
And of course, as you said, it was during the interview with John Hunt, and of course he lost his wife and two daughters in a brutal attack.
Oh, horrendous. Yeah, I was listening to it on the Today programme today, actually, and I just think it's so brave of her to have this really open and honest conversation. And she has always said, this is why I care about women's rights so much. And then when you hear an example like John's and you think, God, this is somebody he knows. He knew the ex-boyfriend, and had him around for Christmas, and had liked him as well. So to see a member of the royal family, the Queen, in fact, having such a frank exchange, it's unprecedented, really.
It does raise a question about the role of the royal family. There's always a tension in what a royal family is and what one is for. We talk about them being more down to earth. If they're too down to earth, they lose their magic. They lose the sort of special sparkle that makes them so unique and different and special for this country. It's a tightrope to walk.
It's such a tightrope to walk, and I think Camilla's generation, not as old as the Queen and Prince Philip, not as young as Meghan and Harry, who, let's face it, share too much. She's that middle generation, and she is finding her way. I think she's doing it quite well because, as you say, the first time we heard this anecdote, we didn't know that much about it. And then several months later, she's decided to share a little bit more. We get glimpses of Camilla's real personality, and I think the British public love her for how down-to-earth she is. But you also kind of want that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, kind of ethereal beauty. We hardly know anything about Kate, and she's going to keep it that way forever. But she wants to be careful not to be too distant from us as well. So she was very clever this year to speak about her cancer diagnosis and just hint a little bit about the chemo that she'd had, which was more information that we'd really had ever from Kate. So they're learning their way as well. I think to kind of drop these little nuggets in and find out how far too far is is. How far is too far? And I think we know from Meghan and Harry, they've gone too far. We know too much, and it ruins the magic.
How much damage do you think those two have done to the royal family, Meghan and Harry?
Huge amounts of damage. I think they've taken away the sparkle hugely. I mean, with their kind of whinging and moaning, letting us in with the power dynamics behind the scenes. And maybe it was even deliberate. I don't know. I don't know whether they realised when they were doing this that they were sharing too much. We don't really want to know what goes on behind palace walls. I mean, we do a bit because we love the gossip, but we don't want to know that they're just real people just like us in a funny kind of way, do we?
No, and it's not just about the royal family that's true of. I mean, there's the old adage, never meet your heroes.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sort of slightly disappointed that Elon Musk tweets as much as he does, because I used to be a big fan of the guy. I read biographies about him. I thought he was very impressive, and now I think half the time he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
And I'm sure had Margaret Thatcher tweeted every 5 minutes, I think we'd probably have a very different opinion of it. Could you imagine if Winston Churchill was firing off tweets? I mean, he'd probably be banned from Twitter, given half the stuff he said. I mean, thank goodness there are some, I don't want to really call them celebrities, but people in public life with decorum who know when to not say anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with Churchill, the thing is, he spoke so infrequently that now what he said is kind of legendary and sort of up on pub walls or whatever. But if he was tweeting every 5 minutes, you'd lose the amazing inspirational quotes in amongst all the kind of noise and nonsense. I think this year, Meghan and Harry, when she shared her twerking video, that was when I thought, we've gone too far, we need to retreat back, we want more kind of Catherine-style elegance and silence. And the Queen used to say, you have to be seen to be believed, but she didn't say you had to be heard to be believed, crucially, I think.
I think Meghan went too far, those two went too far a long, long time ago, especially in that Spare. Let's not talk about the 8-hour cream.
Oh, God, don't talk about that. And don't listen to the audible of that either.
I've heard the audible. That's extraordinary. Prince Harry saying, talking about his appendage.
Oh,
I know.
On the audio, his voice talking. Honestly, the first time I heard that, I thought it was AI.
No, I can't.
I could not believe it was real until I'd seen it for myself from the source. My goodness me. Charlotte Griffiths, what a way to end this conversation, but thank you so much for talking
very much,
all things royal with us.
Yeah. Right, this is Good Afternoon Britain. Welcome if you just tuned in. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Lots more coming up on today's show. Up next...
One pub a day closed permanently in England and Wales this year. Are we going to see more of the same in 2026? Well, all of that and much more to come. Do stick with us here on GB News. Much more after this.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. As we go through the rest of this New Year's Eve, well, it's going to be fine but cold for many of us. However, we do have some showers pushing into the north, and here we're going to see the winds strengthening as well. It's because the high pressure that's been around through recent days, that is retreating a little bit further towards the northwest. So that will allow for the winds to strengthen in the north and those showers to feed in as well. Initially, they're going to be falling as rain, but we are going to see a bit of snow arriving later on. Like I said, towards the south, however, it's staying largely fine, albeit a few mist and fog patches could linger into the afternoon. It is a chilly day, despite the fact that there'll be plenty of sunshine around. Temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year and feeling even colder with those strong winds towards the north. Now, as we head through this evening and towards midnight, an early frost across some southern parts and some mist and fog could again develop quite quickly through the start of the night. But as we head towards midnight itself, it's a tale of two halves, really. Windy, a gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour around Orkney, Shetland and the far north of Scotland, and plenty of showers across much of Scotland, some of those showers feeding into Northern Ireland and Northern England too. Drier further south across central southern parts of England and Wales. A largely fine start to New Year's Day, albeit we are going to see a bit more cloud sinking its way southwards, and as a result, that's going to lift the temperatures a little bit after a cold, frosty start to the night towards the far south. By the time that we get to, well, around dawn, we're looking at temperatures being a few degrees above freezing for many. More snow showers piling in across parts of Scotland as we go through New Year's Day. Also a swathe of something a little bit wet and perhaps a bit wintry pushing its way across parts of Northern Ireland into England and Wales as well as we go through Thursday. Otherwise, it is going to be a cold feeling day, especially when you factor in the brisk winds.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. On the M80 southbound, the exit slip at junction 3 is restricted due to a broken down vehicle. On Northamptonshire's M1 northbound, the exit slip at junction 34 has a broken down vehicle with one of 3 lanes closed. Conditions should improve after 3 this afternoon. In Walsall, the A5 between the A452 and the A34 is shut both ways after a crash, with all lanes closed. It is expected to ease after 3:10 this afternoon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton or Rugby, while Cross Country reports engineering work in Cambridge and disruption between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 40 minutes after 2 o'clock. Now, people are getting ready to ring in the new year, but pubs across the country are gearing up for one of their busiest nights.
But the celebrations come with a warning. Venues face an extra £32,000 in business rates over the next 3 years, raising fears of more closures.
Well, we're joined now by landlord of the Hand in Nana
Akua, I think, yeah.
How do I say? Is it Clanarmon?
It's double L is with a C sound in Welsh.
Clanarmon?
That's right.
As
Yeah.
Jonathan
Clanarmon,
Greatorex. All right, did I say it right?
You did perfect. Absolutely. Well done.
So, Jonathan, are you all ready for the new year? Will the pub be busy?
We will. We've got rooms. We've got 13 bedrooms. We're fully booked. We've got a restaurant. We're full. And yeah, it's going to be a good night. But, you know, it's tough. And we've got a situation where this government really are not listening anymore to what the industry has been telling them, not just for the last few months, but for the last couple of years. Because, you know, we've got a perfect storm. You know, we all know about the business rates going up. We know costs are going up. But let's not forget that we're still carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds of COVID debt because we were shut down. So we need a break. And this is why, you know, Andy, and we're behind this campaign of banning Labour MPs from pubs. Now, let me make it clear. It's not political. In fact, my local Labour MP is very welcome here because he's come along, he's engaged. He said, right, tell me what the problems are. But they need to start listening en masse now.
So is he banned, though, even though you're saying it's not political? Because he's one of them.
Yeah, he's not banned at all because he's very welcome because he has shown that he's willing to listen and to engage. And that's all we want. You know, that's all we've ever wanted is for a government to actually listen and engage and not just pay us lip service. You know, we're one of the biggest employers.
It's all talk, Jonathan, though. They've put the prices up anyway. The rates have gone up.
I mean, look, if it's in any other, you know, any other industry, you'd call it lies. You know, if you spread lies, you would be under huge trouble. If I, you know, missold products, I'd have trading standards on me. We've got a government who are standing up saying, "Oh, we're helping the industry," when demonstrably they're not. You know, it's just mendacious.
Do you think that Rachel Reeves knew what she was doing? Because I was fascinated when I watched the budget speech. I saw Rachel Reeves use her own breath to say, we're going to make things better for pubs. We're going to cut the rate at which they pay business rates. And then in the small print, you work out that actually there's re-evaluations that mean, despite this tiny cut, most pubs, in fact, almost all pubs, are only paying perhaps double the amount before, in 1 or 2 cases, 3 times the amount before because of the reassessment. I mean, did the Chancellor know that was going on, or is she just incompetent? I mean, it's got to be one or the other.
I think it is. I think she's economically illiterate. You know, look, this is a woman who's lied, you know, about her career, about her past, about her CV. You know, if anyone else did that, you know, we would be kicked out of a job.
Well, she would probably argue that was just on LinkedIn and it's not necessarily a CV. But the reality is the things there weren't quite true, were they? Unfortunately.
No. They weren't, and that's the problem. So what credibility do we have? You know, I like to think that people know I'm honest, that, you know, I serve good food, good drink, and that's your reputation. If you've got a reputation for not telling the truth and being, let's just say, mendacious at best, no one's going to believe you anymore, and that's where we're at.
It does seem to be particularly extraordinary, given that it's a tough time for any hospitality business. We know that the national insurance contributions rose last year. This year, the minimum wage has been rising beyond productivity rising. People have less money in their pockets to go out, and now with those business rates reassessments, you're going to need to get in, I don't know how many more customers just to make the same amount of money that you did last year. I mean, how do you win?
Well, I'll put that into perspective, actually. So from last April, my salary bill went up by £1,000 a week as a result of the national insurance.
A week?
A week.
Wow.
Now, I was talking to the owner of a small independent supermarket recently, and their salary has gone up by £1,000 a day. But of course, we've got to make that profit. That's what the government don't understand. To be able to pay people an extra £1,000 a week, or pay the government an extra £1,000 a week, we've got to be taking an extra £10,000 a week. Well, where's that money going to come from? The sums just don't add up.
So what
and
have
this
you
is
done?
a problem.
So what have you done in response to that? Because most people have taken on fewer people, cut down their costs. What have you done?
Our staff are working incredibly long hours. You know, we are understaffed deliberately because we can't afford to be fully staffed. I've got 2 incredible chefs who work 365 days a year. You know, we did have 3 chefs. That's the reality. And this is what the government is not understanding, is that by not encouraging people to employ people, jobs are going to be lost, and especially at a time when, you know, we're being faced with AI and all that sort of stuff. You know, so we need to make it more attractive to employ a human being, and that's what hospitality does so well.
Especially for young people. One of my first jobs was pulling pints behind a bar, and I had a 0-hours contract. I was at university at the time.
Fair enough.
It worked for me because some weeks I had more work to do. I couldn't take on any shifts, but some weeks I could, and I did take on shifts. That flexibility was brilliant for me, and that is now going to be much harder for businesses to provide because of the Employment Wrongs Bill.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Tom. I mean, you know, it's one of the most portable skills on the planet. You know, if you can pour a pint of beer, you can pour a pint of beer in literally any city on the planet. But also, we're the most diverse employers. We employ people of all intellect, spectrums. We employ, most people, as you said, have their first experience of working as in the hospitality sector. Well, come on, guys. We're trying to do, best. I mean, we're not just pubs. You know, I'm the unofficial post office. You know, things that get delivered here, fridges, tractor tyres, you name it. But also, when there's an emergency in the village, everyone comes here because we're the hub.
Well,
and that's what they forget.
Perhaps you need to reconsider that Labour MP coming in. I mean, he might be nice, or she might be nice and all that, but she's still, or he's still part of the whole overall problem, and the message doesn't seem to have got through. If they get the message through, then let them back in, I think.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that they're not very happy with this campaign at all. The Labour MPs, they're very, very unhappy.
Well,
and I think the message is getting there. No, exactly not.
No, don't let him in. I'm sorry, but he's part. If he's not part of the solution, he's part of the problem. Just chuck him out tonight if he thinks he's coming in. Jonathan Gregory, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
And that's Jonathan's the landlord of the Hand in Clonmarnon. So if you've got some last, although fully booked tonight, but maybe later in the week for anyone in the area.
And don't let that MP in again. Just to remind you, chuck him out if he comes tonight.
Now, if you're in search of some sunshine in 2026, you might not be able to get it in this country. Perhaps you'd want to check the weather in Europe. Here it is.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, are you heading away for the new year? Well, there is some unsettled weather, some cold weather across Europe, in fact. Storm Francis is bringing some very wet weather to the Canaries through New Year's Day and into the weekend, as well as parts of Spain and Portugal. Comparatively drier for more central areas, though it is colder than it usually is at this time of year. The good news is, though, as it turns colder for the UK, it will slowly start to warm up into next week in the east. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Welcome to GB News. 52 minutes after 2 o'clock and getting closer and closer to midnight. And, of course, the fabulous show tonight on GB News. If you're at home, switch it on 10 o'clock through to 1 a.m. You've got Bev Turner there. You've also got Darren Grimes is making a comeback.
He is.
Just returned for one night only. One night only.
Of course, Ben Leo there as well. Miriam Cates, who's also doing the show in the morning as well as the show at the night, so props to her. Yeah, Alex Armstrong there as well. So the whole crew will be cheering in New Year.
Did you mention Ben Leo?
I think I did, yes.
Yes, Ben Leo as well, so that's going to be fun. But we've got loads of stuff going on as well, of course, here. Where are we now? This is...
What on earth is this? South Korea, apparently, I'm being told. But it's not a particularly wide shot of South Korea, is it?
That's just one flare in the middle.
I hope the celebrations in South Korea are a bit more than just one flare. Stay with us while we bring you the new year to come in South Korea. That's here on GB News. Don't move a muscle. We'll be back.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. As we go through the rest of this New Year's Eve, well, it's going to be fine but cold for many of us. However, we do have some showers pushing into the north, and here we're going to see the winds strengthening as well. It's because the high pressure that's been around through recent days, that is retreating a little bit further towards the northwest. So that will allow for the winds to strengthen in the north and those showers to feed in as well. Initially, they're going to be falling as rain, but we are going to see a bit of snow arriving later on. Like I said, towards the south, however, it's staying largely fine, albeit a few mist and fog patches could linger into the afternoon. It is a chilly day, despite the fact that there'll be plenty of sunshine around. Temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year and feeling even colder with those strong winds towards the north. Now, as we head through this evening and towards midnight, an early frost across some southern parts and some mist and fog could again develop quite quickly through the start of the night. But as we head towards midnight itself, it's a tale of two halves, really. Windy, a gust of 60 to 70 miles per hour around Orkney, Shetland and the far north of Scotland, and plenty of showers across much of Scotland. Some of those showers feeding into Northern Ireland and Northern England too. Drier further south across central southern parts of England and Wales. A largely fine start to New Year's Day, albeit we are going to see a bit more cloud sinking its way southwards, and as a result that's going to lift the temperatures a little bit after a cold frosty start to the night towards the far south. By the time that we get to, well, around dawn, we're looking at temperatures being a few degrees above freezing for many. More snow showers piling in across parts of Scotland as we go through New Year's Day. Also a swathe of something a little bit wet and perhaps a bit wintry pushing its way across parts of Northern Ireland into England and Wales as well as we go through Thursday. Otherwise, it is going to be a cold feeling day, especially when you factor in the brisk winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Look, this is winter. It's flu. Flu comes in winter. Sure as eggs is eggs. There's nothing particularly special about the virus. It has mutated, but that change has made it able to spread through the community by defeating our existing immunity. But the virus itself remains the same in terms of its clinical impact. So while it's a problem at a community and population level, lots of cases, for people who catch this, it's no worse than normal seasonal flu. It's not like we've got a supercharged flu that makes people much iller. We've got a virus that's spreading better and it's come earlier. So we're seeing it rising up the sort of infectious disease rates faster for this time of year. And there are a number of reasons for that, partly because it is a different virus, it's mutated. We haven't seen this particular strain spread for a couple of years. So population immunity levels are quite low. That's why it's spreading more.
What you said there, very calm, very rational, quite reassuring, to be honest with you, seems very logical, understandable. Earlier today, the BBC decided to do a report that looked a lot like this. Let's play the clip.
The throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't got time to play it all, but she goes on to, like, you know, use the hand sanitizer. Again, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit fearmongery.
Well, look, we must take flu seriously because it's a fact that if we tot up the excess mortality in the wintertime, just in the UK, and we attribute a lot of this excess mortality to flu, in an average year, maybe 5,000-6,000 people will lose their lives to flu. And in a bad year, it might be as high as 20,000. So we don't take this lightly. We're not complacent about flu.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, hello and welcome back. We're now covering the next few minutes with celebrations in South Korea, ringing in the new year. Stay tuned for a spectacular fireworks display.
Yeah, so tens of thousands are gathering at the Bosigak Pavilion in central Seoul for their New Year's countdown ceremony, which is at midnight, which is not far from midnight there, because obviously we're many hours behind them.
Well, exactly. It's about 30 seconds now until they will bong the bronze bell. Yes, at midnight, by tradition, this bell is struck 33 times. It's a tradition that's rooted in Buddhist cosmology. It symbolises the 33 heavens. So we're expecting to see these 33 resonant chimes that are all believed to